Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Online Game Doomsday. I became an NPC. Chapter 61. Joe Zekwon stabbed the jockey's heart with a sword. -361 damage feedback popped up. GI, 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 GI. The jockey screamed in pain. It hurriedly stomped on and fangs back and jumped to the top of the nearby ruins. Joe Zekwon retracted his sword, raised his head and looked at the jockey on the ruins. Do you still want to kill people in front of me? Brother Chuan, this wave of pretense is good. Brother Chuan is getting serious. Hack him to death. Brother Chuan. Just as Joe Zekwon finished speaking, Buckwheat Manto and the others clapped their hands behind him. The sound of cheering made Joe Zekwon embarrassed for a few seconds. Brother Chuan, this thing is extremely fast and is very good at sneak attacking from behind. Be careful from behind. Saikisuke, who was scorched beside him, quickly reminded him. Joe Zekwon glanced at Shiyisuke when he heard the words, shook his head and said, stop talking when you're already familiar. Black smoke is coming out of your mouth. Saikisuke, how could Joe Zekwon not know what ability this jockey had? In Joe Zechuan's eyes, there is no so-called end-time creature that needs to open up wasteland. Joe Zekwon can search for any information about the creatures of the last days with the system. ... Jockey Class D Elite. Introduce. 4th Order G Virus Fusion, Imperfect Fusion. It is characterized by a short hunchback, rotten head and limbs, and a shrill laugh. Its location can be judged by laughter. Attack method. 1. Can easily jump behind the target, drag the target with both hands to walk around uncontrollably. If the target is too weak, it will be killed directly. 2. Both hands directly cause damage to the target. Weakness. Back. The core of the G virus is concentrated on the hump, and the attack can cause a lot of damage. This is the information template of the end-time creatures that Joe Zekwon can see in his mind. There are not only the introduction of attack methods, but also the location of weaknesses. The same is true for the weaknesses of night hunting and night devils encountered before. The 4th Order G virus variant, the D-level elite. The physical strength should be higher than that of a C-level boss like night hunting. But without special attack ability, it is easier for me to deal with it. Quote. Joe Zekwon knew in his heart that such a D-level elite monster was no threat to him. Checking the biological information of the last days is just a glance. When Joe Zekwon came back to his senses, the jockey on the ruins had disappeared. The speed of movement is a bit fast. But it's a pity that I'm not like other players. I lost my eyes and couldn't see you on the map. Joe Zekwon glanced at the map specially provided by the host. There is a big red dot that overlaps with my own position. The 2 polished longswords in Joe Zechuan's hands were changed to reverse grasping. Then, he stabbed himself behind with the sword retracting pose. PFF'd. The 2 swords directly penetrated the jockey's body. Another 322 damage popped out. How did Brother Chuan know that this thing was on his back? Shiyifu was stunned. The jockey took advantage of the wall of the ruins and ejected several times before reaching Joe Zechuan's back. The angle is extremely tricky. The jockey was behind Joe Zekwon, and Saikisuke found out. Just as he was about to remind him, Joe Zekwon stabbed the jockey with his sword. Open the picture. Shao Tu. These 2 words couldn't help popping out in Shiyifu's mind. Why is this NPC's hanging more and more open? After being stabbed, the jockey struggled to back away. It wanted to pull out the sword that had been pierced into him. Joe Zekwon turned around and smiled at it. Don't worry, I can help you. Seeing the harmless smile on Joe Zechuan's face, the jockey panicked inexplicably. Joe Zekwon raised his leg and stepped on the jockey's head with his foot wearing poison stinger greaves. Give it a kick. The jockey borrowed his strength to pull out the long sword, but its face started to turn black. The spikes on the venomous greaves pierced the jockey's scalp. The jockey is poisoned. -170. -170. -170. The toxin damage kept floating out of the jockey's head. This continuous poisonous injury alone is enough to kill the jockey for half his life. Knowing that something was wrong, the jockey turned his head and wanted to run away. However, after being stabbed a few times and being poisoned, its movement speed was not as good as before. On the other hand, Joe Zekwon. Basic movement speed of 60 points, weight 6 plus 9.9, 15% movement speed increase provided by the poisonous thorn greaves plus 19.8, 30% movement speed increase of the // skill sprint. His movement speed reached an astonishing 89.7 points. The jockey who was on the way to escape shook his head and was stunned. There is a human who runs faster than it. After chasing the target, Joe Zechuan's 3 in a row swordlight arrived. Puff puff, minus 341, minus 375, minus 412, 3 increasing damage floated out. Just don't attack weak points, just get used to normal damage. Joe Zechuan was about to finish off the jockey. The jockey hit by 3 in a row lost his balance. Because of high-speed inertia, he rolled on the ground for more than 10 laps before stopping. It covered the bleeding wound on its body, looked at Joe Zechuan and shouted hysterically. Human, you can't kill me. We are the last hope to keep this continent. Joe Zechuan, who stopped in front of it, was stunned. This little sheik can actually speak human language. Cough, cough. The jockey coughed up a large pool of blood, gritted his teeth and continued. If you kill us, this continent will soon be occupied by plague ghosts. White ghosts. Joe Zechuan squinted his eyes when he heard the words, and couldn't help laughing. You don't want to tell me that the alien army will soon invade from the land of eternal winter. Then let me tell you a piece of news. Joe Zechuan took a deep breath and said solemnly. Galaxy. Has been stabbed to death by someone who doesn't know anything. This continent is over. Jockey. Brother Chuan, I think the plague ghost you mentioned may not be the same thing. And Feng, who came by car, saw the jockey's expression of doubting his life, so he helped to explain. The NPC is here to play Game of Thrones. This game planning is full of evil fun. Sunshine Boy also laughed out loud in the co-pilot. It would be great if the worldview of this game really includes Game of Thrones, and Feng smacked his lips, and sighed, we have the opportunity to ride a dragon in a 100% realistic environment. I'm not like you, what I want to ride is. Joe Zechuan didn't know that the two people driving were driving. His eyes were fixed on the jockey. He was a little worried. After all, it is a fourth-order eschatological creature, so it won't go berserk before dying, right? Joe Zechuan didn't want the jockey to trade with him at the limit. Poisoning plus bleeding, the jockey's health bar is still decreasing. Just when the blood volume has dropped to only 800 plus. The jockey raised his arms and jumped up. Human. This is my last strength. Are you really going to go berserk? Joe Zechuan raised his 2 swords and took a step back vigilantly. But who knows, the jockey jumped up and did not rush towards Joe Zechuan. Instead, he turned around and ran away in the other direction. As for the final strength, the jockey wasn't lying either. After fighting to the death, its movement speed has returned to its peak. And Joe Zechuan's 3-stage cut is still on CD. Without the movement speed bonus of // he couldn't catch up with the jockey. Oops, I forgot to remind the NPC, the monster escape technique in this game is top-notch. And Feng smacked his mouth and said. In his mind, he thought of the night devil leaping backwards, which was exactly the same as the current jockey. Escape. Can you escape? Joe Zechuan put away his 2 swords, and touched the AKM hanging behind him. I am holding 2 swords because I am afraid that he will approach me. Now I want to escape. Then I have nothing to worry about. AKM took it out and replaced it with 4 times the hologram. Press the gun and shoot. Strength up to 66 points, Joe Zechuan will not be affected by gun recoil. Every bullet basically hit the position he wanted to shoot. The only pity is that he is inexperienced in hitting moving targets. Especially this kind of high-speed moving target. The advance measurement was inaccurate, which caused him to miss a lot of bullets. However, this time he suppressed the gun, he still hit the jockey's blood volume to only 300 plus left. Judging from the blood bar, the jockey only had a trace of blood left. There is a large group of mutants in the alley ahead. You can hide there. I won't die when the fat man comes over. The jockey felt the breath of the same kind. While giving himself spiritual encouragement, he lowered his body and sneaked. With such a squat at its height, it directly became Voldemort. Joe Zechuan's quadruple mirror really lost its field of view. Brother Chuan, did the jockey escape? And Feng asked aloud. Joe Zekwon put the AKM away. I escaped, but not completely escaped. Come on, take me there to collect the corpse. Joe Zekwon got into the car, next to Saikisuke, who was all scorched in black. You. Joe Zekwon looked at Shang-Chi and hesitated to speak. He really wanted to say it. Wouldn't it be good for you to die and then be resurrected? But that would destroy the character design of the NPC. Before I die, I want to hit the jockey's head with the scepter. This is my obsession. Shiyifu looked at Joe Zekwon and said with determination. Joe Zekwon. ... Jockey, we are about to reach the alleyway full of zombies. Its eyes are full of hope. With the cover of zombies, it can escape the pursuit of these humans. At this moment, suddenly there were a lot of footsteps coming from not far away. The jockey looked up sharply. On the other side of the street, more than 100 humans rushed towards him. In the jockey's widened pupils, more than 100 players rushed forward and overwhelmed him. These are all players who came on foot. 35 of them took the task, and the rest came here to gain experience. AD level elite monster is too sweet in their eyes. Even if it's just touching it, it's worth half an hour of brushing with E-rank zombies. Nice. I shaved the jockey's sword. Increased experience by a third. I kicked it, and the power jumped a little. Ha ha ha, I stabbed it too. Huh, why didn't my experience increase? You pierced my thigh. Quote. The remaining blood of the jockey was quickly wiped away by the players one by one. When a permission reminder appeared, the players could not do anything with the jockey's body, and they dispersed. The SUV arrives. Joe Zekwon got out of the car and walked through the crowd to collect the jockey's body. The bloody dismantling is carried out under the eyes of the players. Many players were dismantled. Even if it is the core players of the last days, not everyone is nervous enough to endure such blood. After dismantling it for more than 10 minutes, Joe Zekwon picked up a jelly-like substance and 2 strong muscles from the ground. Get G-Virus Gel. Get jockey's Achilles X2. Sensing the staring eyes from all around, Joe Zekwon didn't wait for the player to ask questions, and explained directly. G-Virus Gel, which can only appear in the body of G-Virus mutants above the 4th level, can be used to synthesize G-Virus medicine. The jockey's Achilles tendon, when forged, can increase the movement speed and jumping ability of the equipment. These are the same as the Night Devil's heart and claws. They are all sub-professional materials, and you won't be able to use them for the time being. At present, the only one who has unlocked the sub-professional skill is Stark City Stark. Among all the players, he is the only one who can build the grass wall in the online game template. He only triggered the sub-professional task by chance by getting started with construction in reality. The rest of the players want to unlock the skills of synthesizing potions and forging sub-professional skills, so they must also be in medicine and blacksmithing in reality. Joe Zekwon guessed that there would be no such player for a while. When he was about to put these 2 materials into his backpack, he froze in place. In my mind, a system prompt sounded. Open black lens bracket, collected new mission information, close black lens bracket. The host can now release new missions, medicine synthesis. The host can now release new tasks, basic forging. ... Potion synthesis personal. Prerequisites. Pharmacy proficiency is required. Task requirements. Extract the G-Virus in the 4th order virus gel. Task difficulty. C level. Task reward. Unlock pharmaceutical synthesis and reward 1 gold. ... Basic blacksmithing personal. Prerequisites. Forging proficiency is required. Task requirements. Successfully embed the jockey's Achilles tendon into a piece of equipment, and it has a bonus effect. Task difficulty. C level. Task reward. Unlock basic forging and reward 1 gold. ... Huh, why did 2 new missions pop up for no reason? Joe Zekwon murmured in his heart. No player came over to give information. How did it trigger? Joe Zekwon looked up and looked around, and found that there were 2 players standing relatively forward, looking like they wanted to say something but were too reserved to say it. Looking at the it again, Joe Zekwon nodded. That is, they were right. It's time for Delang to drink the medicine. The head of the blacksmith shop. Do you want to try synthesizing potions and forging equipment? Joe Zekwon called out the two players. Can I? It's time for Da Lang to drink his medicine, and the head of the blacksmith shop is all surprised. They are just ordinary players, with backward levels and equipment. Even if I wanted to try my hand with these materials, I didn't have the capital to do so. Unexpectedly, the NPC would take the initiative to find them. Could it be they triggered a sub-professional task? Players who had some messages shouted immediately. The quest of pharmacist and blacksmith sub-jobs. These two sub-jobs are very popular in other games. The players around were envious. Joe Zekwon looked at the two players and asked, What did you do before? One is proficient in pharmacy and the other is proficient in blacksmithing. Joe Zekwon was really curious about who these two players were. Da Lang took a deep breath and said, I graduated from a pharmacy major, and I have worked in a pharmaceutical factory for a few years, so I have some experience. However, the salary in the pharmaceutical factory is too low, and now I have changed careers. Quote. Now, a player next to him couldn't help asking. I earn more W in a month by selling wine with live broadcasts, which is more than I have worked in a pharmaceutical factory for several years. It's time for Da Lang to drink the medicine, and he replied honestly, Don't even think about doing this business. Luck and strength are very important in this business, and ordinary people can't grasp it. Hearing Da Lang's self-introduction that it was time to drink the medicine, Joe Zekwon couldn't help but look at the blacksmith shop manager. Doesn't he also learn to blacksmith? Does the school have this major? My major is computer science. The head of the blacksmith met Joe Zechuan's gaze and said slowly. Brother Chuan, don't look at me bald, I look like I'm 30 or 40 years old. Actually, I'm a 23-year-old programmer. Quote. I was forced to learn blacksmithing by my father when I was young, and he has been making this kind of handicrafts. My dad told me that learning one more craft would at least keep me from starving to death. I really can't stay outside anymore, and I can go back and inherit his blacksmith shop. Quote. Your father, is your surname Tang? A player interrupted. Wait a minute, programmers, shouldn't you be in company 996 now? Some players wondered. The head of the blacksmith shop waved his hand and said, A while ago I couldn't bear the volume, so I quit my job. I was about to go back to my hometown to forge iron when a friend pulled me over. Said that with my ability, I should be able to make money in this game. Quote. Hearing this, the reunited Wu Lianzuo glanced at each other. Really, there are quite a few players who have the same idea as them. Joe Zekwon nodded slightly upon hearing this. The fourth natural disaster is really full of talents. Stark, who knew everything before, had already surprised him. Unexpectedly, a pharmacist and a blacksmith came out again today. Joe Zekwon didn't delay much, and handed the G-virus gel in his hand to Da Lang. It's time to drink the medicine. Extract the G-virus inside and give it to me. The purified virus has a higher success rate in synthesizing G-virus medicine. After Joe Zekwon finished his lines, the task information popped up in the interface that Da Lang should drink his medicine. Task: Pharmaceutical synthesis. Accept, reject. It was time for Da Lang to drink the medicine, so he didn't read the mission introduction carefully and clicked accept directly. When he browsed the detailed information of the task, he could not stop smiling. Mission reward 1 gold, and unlock the pharmaceutical synthesis sub-professional skill. The rewards for this mission are too generous. Needless to say, the value of 1 gold. What's more important is the medicine synthesis skill. With this skill, he is currently the only pharmacist in the entire server. If players have such needs, they can only find him. What does that mean? It means W, worth more than 1 gold. After releasing the pharmacist quest, Joe Zekwon continued to turn to the blacksmith master to release the blacksmith quest. Inlaid jockey's Achilles. The best equipment is undoubtedly shoes, but I don't want players to use my stinger greaves to practice their hands. Joe Zekwon thought about it, and exchanged it for the cheapest 10-point shoes waist wound foot in the host mall. Scrap Footrap only has 35 points of physical defense, without any other bonuses. Leave it to the players to practice, even if the equipment is used up, it doesn't feel bad. Scrap drum and jockey's Achilles tendon are handed over to the blacksmith shop manager to complete the release task. It's time for Da Lang to drink his medicine, and the head of the blacksmith almost left surrounded by players. They all knew the importance of a good relationship with the first apothecary and blacksmith. Soon, there were only players waiting to submit that resist invasion task. There are still many zombies nearby, let's go back to the community first. Zhou Zequan waved his hand as a gesture of repelling him. To hand in the mission, go back to a safer place first. A jockey can pop out here, and there will be even more powerful creatures of the end of the world if they are not complete. Even Zhou Zequan, the most powerful human being, dare not guarantee that he will survive. Why are these players so brave? Gone. Forget that these guys can be resurrected infinitely. Zhou Zequan returned to the off-road vehicle, and returned to the community with Enfang and the others. In the district, the resurrected Star City Stark, I have a third-level head, and I have been waiting for a long time to break your skull. I got the car keys, the Uzi, and the broadsword for you. After getting out of the car, Enfang returned Star City Stark's things. Next time I hang up, you have to help me pick up the things. Star City Stark gestured towards him, signaling him to rest assured. Brother Chuan, please stay. Stark walked quickly to Zhou Zequan. I want to talk about the jockey, you come one by one. Zhou Zequan thought that Stark of Star City was in a hurry to hand in the task, but his eyes shifted to AKM behind him. Brother Chuan, I heard you have an AKM. And holographic, quadruple, and eightfold sights. Quote. The more Star City Stark said, the more excited he became. If I'm not mistaken, there is a muzzle compensator on this gun. Expand the magazine. My god, it's a fully equipped AKM. Can you sell it to me? As long as it's not a sky-high price, I'm willing to buy it. Zhou Zequan was stunned by Stark of Star City. Why is this guy staring at my equipment every day? He found that Zhou Zequan looked at him with something wrong, with a vague murderous look. Star City Stark quickly explained. Brother Chuan, don't get me wrong. I won't do stupid things just because I covet your equipment. Star City Stark muttered inwardly. Zhou Zequan is the only NPC that can trigger advanced tasks and sub-professional skill tasks. By comparison, quartermasters and physicians in residential buildings can only issue low-level missions, and serve more as stores. From this point of view, Zhou Zequan is at least an extremely important part of the main plot. Before some players wanted to get rid of Zhou Zequan, the game company directly transferred the data to the NPC, which further confirmed this point. Why would Stark die for a few pieces of equipment? What's more, he didn't need to use this method to get equipment at all. He is rich. The NPC has good equipment here, if you can't buy it with money, it will be fine. Brother Chuan, I'm so excited just because of this AKM. With this weapon, I won't be so embarrassed when I face the jockey before. Star City Stark shook his head and sighed. The accuracy of my Uzi submachine gun and the AKM hologram are not at the same level at all. With this gun, even if the jockey jumps up and down very fast, I can still put a bullet into its head. Zhou Zequan thought about it when he heard the words. It seems that it is not impossible to sell this AKM. Let the player's combat power increase, and the player can better complete the task. This is undoubtedly in his favor. Moreover, judging from what I have seen and heard before, players like Star City Stark, Wulian Zuo, and Enfang are firmly on his side. These players always think that they can play better with Zhou Zequan. It is no exaggeration to say that Zhou Zequan is a loyal employee. If they are specially strengthened, more players may join this camp. After sorting out his thoughts, Zhou Zequan nodded in response. This AKM can be sold to you, and you don't need to raise the price like before. It's only 15 gold. If you have enough gold, you can buy it. A full AKM with 300 points, converted into game currency, is 3 gold. Zhou Zequan intends to sell to Star City Stark at the standard price of X5. Only 15 gold. Star City Stark immediately excitedly said, Brother Chuan, you are so kind. It cost 10 gold for an Uzi submachine gun. Star City Stark was ready to bleed heavily for the AKM here. It turned out to be only 15 gold. There is a premise that any equipment you buy from me cannot be used by others. If you can't do it, you don't want to buy anything from me in the future. Zhou Zequan added a sentence. The possibility of other players being purchased by Stark in Star City is blocked in advance. No problem, I have the equipment to fight with them, enough. Star City Stark agreed. 15 gold is fully equipped with AKM. I want it too, Brother Chuan, do you still have it here? And Feng was also moved when he heard the price. Yes, there are. But if you buy it, it will be 25 gold. Zhou Zequan deliberately made a difference. And Feng, why am I 10 gold more expensive? The NPC's favorability is not enough. Seeing and Feng's skeptical expression on his life, Stark laughed directly next to him. Can we be the same? Back then on the rooftop, I used my physical body to help Brother Chuan block the Night Devil's claws. If I can show Brother Chuan's favorability, I must be the highest. Quote. Good guy, it seems that I have to come to Brother Chuan every day to brush up my favorability. Hey, wait a minute, and Feng had a flash of inspiration. Brother Chuan, do you want a girlfriend? I have a younger sister who looks good, I can introduce you to her. Quote. Hearing this, Stark and the others in Star City looked at Feng in unison. In order to increase the NPC's favorability, this guy actually wants to use his own sister to seduce the NPC. That's it. And Feng, you are going too far. The sunny boy on the side reprimanded. I think I wanted your sister's contact information at the beginning, so you gave me a big blow, and now you want to hook up with an NPC with your sister. Can it be the same, ULSP? And it's just a game, not reality. And Feng said indifferently, if this can be done, I will continue to call Brother Chuan brother, and he will call me brother-in-law. We will have our own opinions. No, I think there is no difference between this game and reality. Stark muttered. There are still differences, and some harmonious interactions can't do it. The sunny boy answered. I teamed up with a female player in the group before, she was a little afraid and kept hiding on me. I just want to take the opportunity. I know it. Quote. Then, I touched the air wall. Yes, it's the air wall. In this game, you can kill female players and even cut off their armor, but you can only see mosaics. Harmony is quite strict. The sunshine boy sighed. No, didn't we see those female zombies clearly? And Feng was stunned and asked in doubt. Of course monsters and players are different. Stark looked at Feng and responded. Even if you have a special XP and want to do something to a rotten female zombie, that female zombie is just a bunch of game data. As for the players, there are 100% realistic experiences of real people behind them. If female players can be harassed by X, can this game still be played? So, the sunny boy suddenly had a slightly wretched smile on his face. After I saw the image of a young lady from another race on the cover, I decided to keep playing. Saikisuke nodded in agreement in the car. The way of LSP is not alone. Zhou Zequan couldn't help shaking his head. Judging from the information on the system, regardless of whether they are male or female, the attribute values of foreign races are more than 10 times higher than those of current players. Overwhelmed by alien attributes, as well as various special abilities. In terms of combat power, the current players are all scumbags in front of other races. With Zhou Zechuan's current strength, he had to run away whenever he saw a foreign race. This group of LSP. They even want to extend their salty pig hands to women of different races. It's really desperate. Ahem. Brother Chuan, you haven't answered me yet. If you have an idea in this regard, I can really introduce it to you. And Feng brought the topic back. Stark and the others looked at him with contempt. This guy is really wicked. I don't know if I can see the sun tomorrow morning, so let's think about how to survive before talking about other things. Zhou Zequan waved his hand in response. Ha ha ha, you're so deflated. The sunny boy laughed. Brother Chuan may be looking at you like this, and thinks your own sister is not that pretty. I'm not as handsome as those little fresh meats, but I'm not ugly either. And I follow my father, my sister follows my mother, and my sister's looks are still very good. I understand the truth, but you cheat your sister so much for NPC favorability, does your sister know? Stark asked with narrowed eyes. This is just a game, it's as if I want to push my sister to fight against fire. And Feng lowered his head in thought, and suddenly his eyes lit up. That's right, I don't need to take the risk of being beaten by her to trick her, I can directly bring her into the game. As long as she gets good at playing, she will find a way to increase the favorability of NPCs. Quote. Do you have anything else to do? I'll go back to the residential building if I'm fine. Jo Zekwon really doesn't want to hear how these players think of ways to attack him. See, Brother Chuan can't stand you anymore. The sunny boy complained. Brother Chuan, don't go. Don't go yet. There is something else to do. Stark hurriedly stopped Jo Zekwon. Mission rewards haven't been claimed yet. Wait for those walking players to come back and hand in the task together, so they can't get pregnant. Star City Stark, and Feng, Sunshine Boy, and even the scorched Shiyisuk got out of the car to receive the task reward. 1 gold per person, plus a random defense equipment. Mine are a pair of shoes, servant's greaves, blue rare equipment, the attributes are not bad. After Star City Stark got the equipment, he put the screenshots of the attributes in their WeChat group. Squire's Greaves. Quality. Blue rare. Physical defense. 40. Movement speed. Increased by 5%. Durability. 25/25. Requires dexterity. 20. Why is the physical defense of the shoes so high? The last time I saw someone selling the stab-resistant suits I found, the physical defense was only 20 points. And Feng wondered. How can the things you found compare with the equipment obtained by the NPC? What defensive equipment did you get randomly? Stark asked. Animal skin jacket, white normal outfit. The physical defense is quite high with 60 points, but there are no other additional bonuses. And Feng took a deep breath, and muttered, wait a minute. Why I'm a whiteboard outfit, but you are rare. There's a gap between Europe and Africa, what else can I do? Star City Stark shrugged and looked at the others, what about you? It shouldn't be all whiteboard outfits, right? Sunshine Boy. Stitched headband, blue is rare, physical defense is only 10 points, but it has a 0.1 per second return to blue. From this point of view, it is the equipment of the legal system. Judging from the current player skills, it is useless. Quote. You can give it to me. I'll change it with you. Shiyifu immediately raised his hand and said, mine is leather helmet, blue is rare, although there is no additional bonus, but the physical defense is as high as 65 points. Are you sure you want to change it? The physical defense of this head ring is not as high as the helmet found in the search, the sunny boy asked. What I value is returning to mana. When mana is used up, not only will the skills become unusable, but it will also affect the san value, which is very important. You don't seem to have the skills to use blue, do you? Already compatible with the fire element, will awakening the ability of the fire element be far behind? Saikisuk, who was dressed in black, said confidently. So, only mine is whiteboard. And Feng watched the few people in front of him fiddle with equipment, frowned and said. I didn't play games so wrong before. It is very likely that the game company noticed that you wanted to take advantage of the loophole and adjusted the burst rate for you. The sunny boy lifted his chin and said with a smile, tell me, is it possible that you will only be able to make whiteboards in the future? If this is the case, I will squat you every day. Your equipment is my equipment. And Feng gritted his teeth. Quote. There's no need for my own people to be so ruthless. The sunshine boy took a deep breath. On the other side, Star City Stark approached Shiyifu and said in a low voice. I transferred another 100,000 Yan Guo coins to you, and collect some gold for me later, more than 15 gold, the more the better. But the current price of gold. Shiyifu reacted. That's right. After this task is completed, there will be an extra 35 gold in the market immediately. It's not 35 gold, it's 65 gold. Star City Stark corrected. Received the news, Pigeon Spirit and the others have already destroyed the Night Demon's lair. Without Brother Chuan, they could complete the task so quickly. Shiyifu was a little surprised. The difference in difficulty is too great. Stark shook his head and said, the Night Devil's lair we fought, the terrain is an unavoidable tunnel, the number is 13 Night Devils, plus a boss Night Hunter. On their side, there are a total of 7 Night Devils, and the terrain is a huge shopping mall. At least half of the more than 50 people gathered were equipped with 50 silver equipment. If you can't get rid of the 7 Night Demons, these people can really withdraw from the group. Quote. It will be troublesome for me to put away the 30 gold in their hands. They know that I will help you now. Shiyifu touched his chin and muttered. After all, our two groups are now considered hostile forces. However, I can find a friend to go around and pay 2-3% more Yancoin. Just do it, don't tell me the details. Star City Stark waved his hand, he still trusts Saikisuke's ability. They should be here too, you look like this, don't you? Seeing Saikisuke's disbelief, Star City Stark couldn't help but say. You should die and be resurrected, your current body will not be restored to its previous appearance even if you eat props. That's what I planned, but I was thinking of knocking on the jockey to gain some experience, but unfortunately I still didn't catch up. Shiyisuke smiled helplessly. After taking the broadsword, he took a few more steps outside, worried that the blood would splash on the off-road vehicle. Then he compared the broadsword to his heart, and pressed it hard. With a puff, blood splashed all over the ground. At the same time, the blood volume is cleared to 0. Seeing this, Enfeng smacked his mouth. This game really should have a one-click suicide. It takes courage to stab yourself with a sword in such a realistic environment. About 10 minutes 12 plus 15 plus 11 plus 18 by 10 seconds. After the resurrection, Shiyifu came downstairs from the residence and retrieved his equipment. It didn't take long before 2 waves of people returned to the community. Seeing these players, Joe Zekwan was a little surprised and said, both C-level team missions have been completed. Can't I get 6,500 points at once? Plus the 8,000 points returned from the sale of the previously placed weapons. After this day, the points directly exceeded 10,000, reaching 14,500 points. Quote. Joe Zekwan couldn't help but put a smile on his face. Today can be said to be the most enjoyable time to do NPC work. Now even looking at these players who caused him trouble all day long, his mood is not as irritable as before. After completing the settlement of all the players' tasks, Joe Zekwan directly browsed the host mall on the spot, and began to browse a certain treasure. From the player's perspective, he is resting with his eyes closed. ... Come here to collect gold at a ratio of 1:600. Are you fooling me when you think I'm a newbie? The pigeon has grown up and looked at Saikisuke in front of him with contempt. Hee. I want black people to pick up the leak, and the black is on my head. After these 2 tasks are completed, there will be an extra 65 gold in the market, and the price of gold will definitely plummet. Do you still want the previous price of more than 2,000? Saikisuke looked dissatisfied, and said in a deep voice. Also, there must be more night devil lairs in the city, and more powerful creatures. Today, 2 C-level group copies were released, and 65 gold was released. There may be 3 or 4 tomorrow, and 100 gold or 200 gold will be released. Quote. Believe it or not, in 2 days, let alone 1:600, even 1:300, 200, you won't be able to sell it. Hiss, Pigeon Chungjing took a deep breath, feeling a little moved. This guy seems to have something to say. But he knew that Saikisuke was helping Stark in Star City. The pigeons don't want to do this kind of behavior of benefiting the enemy when they become refined. 1:700, I'll take all the gold coins in your hand. A voice came. Saikisuke and the pigeons turned their heads to look at the person coming at the same time. Little Bellin, why don't you go collect your game cards, why are you in this game? Seeing this person's id, Saikisuke became extremely irritated. These are all seen by the pigeons. Does anyone know the ID of Little Bellin? Now you're talking to me about collecting money. Close black lens bracket. Seeing the 2 people facing each other tit for tat, the pigeon immediately asked in the WeChat group he created. A well-known game dealer in fantasy online games, he has little contact with us, but it is said that he has a good reputation. Close black lens bracket. A businessman from fantasy online games. So I met a colleague. The corner of the pigeon's mouth became refined, and a smile could not help but leak out. 2 peers are bidding, it seems that I can make a lot of money this time. Little Baron, I heard some time ago that you are stockpiling cards and advanced enchanting items in the mountain pass. Shiyifu frowned and said, it seems that you have made a lot of money, and you are so idle and bored to play Shinyu. Don't mention this to me. Little Bei Lun sighed and shook his head again. Now Ko Shanko is full of gold hunting soldiers, and the price of gold has dropped so much that I am dumbfounded. The Thunderbolt doesn't care at all now, I quickly sold the things and ran away, and I managed to recover some losses. So, you retargeted this game. You should play less of this type of game. Shiyifu said in a deep voice. It's not a problem to play less, as long as you can understand the price of things. Little Baron said this, and looked up at Shiyisuke. Seeing you here shows that my choice is right. You really want to compete with me for this batch of gold? Shiyifu took a deep breath and said. There's money to be made, why don't I fight for it? If you want to charge 1,700, you won't earn much. It counts as much as you can earn. Do you really want to play like this? Little Baron nodded calmly. Saikisuke clenched his fists and froze on the spot. He glanced at the direction of Stark in Star City, and after getting instructions, he shouted loudly. I don't make any money. 1,750 gold. If you want to sell, I'll transfer the money immediately. The pigeon did not agree when it became refined, but waited with a smile on its face. Brother, they have released 1,750. Your side. No more ups. Little Bellin shook his head and smiled. 1,750 really can't make any money, the most I can get is 1,720. How about it? Don't hesitate, I have 30 Yanguo coins more than him. Shiyifu looked at the pigeon and became a master, his face was full of complacency. I won't sell it to you, why? Seeing Saikisuke's arrogant face, the pigeon has grown up and couldn't bear it anymore. Of course, the anger is vented, but Jin is not alone. You still have to ask your teammates. He immediately opened the WeChat group. Old Shi offered 1,750 to collect the gold in our hands, while Little Bellin offered 1,720, who shall we sell? Close black lens bracket. Of course it's Little Baron. Close black lens bracket. Last time when the old history group destroyed us, what a loss it caused, how could we sell our gold to Lao Shi? Close black lens bracket. That's right, sell Jin to Lao Shi, let them change their equipment and continue to abuse us. Since everyone has no objections, we will sell all the 20 gold we are going to sell to Little Baron. I have 20 gold in my hand to sell, do you want all of it? The pigeon turned and asked Little Bellin. All. Little Baron nodded. After reaching a consensus, the two conduct a safe transaction under the guarantee of the platform. Little Bellin finally bought the 20 gold in the hands of Pigeon Chungjing for 14,400 Yanguo currency. Looking forward to the next cooperation. After the transaction was completed, Bellin Jr. shook hands with Pigeon Chungjing in a very businesslike manner. Then, he went straight to the group of Stark in Star City. Seeing this, the pigeon immediately fell into a state of bewilderment. What's the situation? Just now, you were fighting to the death like enemies. Now, why did they get together and have such a lively chat? There is a bad feeling about the pigeon becoming fine. No way, could it be that Little Baron is also from Stark City? But there is no reason. Isn't this guy a fantasy game dealer? How could it be connected with Star City Stark, a player who only plays end-time games? Saikisuke, these two guys are here to play me. After clarifying his thoughts, the pigeon became fine and patted himself on the forehead regretfully. I was tricked, you don't pretend anymore, we can play him again next time. Shiyifu smiled and punched Little Baron. It's too risky to use the same person in this way. Little Bellin said, and clicked on the application transaction module. Shiyifu also began to operate on the transfer interface. 20 gold, 14,400 yen coins. According to the previous agreement, 3% of the resale price, 14,832 yen coins, let's make up the whole 15,000 for you. I'm going. Are you the Saikisuke I knew before? Has your account been stolen? Little Bellin was full of surprise. We used to cooperate, and you could argue with me for a whole day for 1 Yanguo currency. Now you are so generous. What the boss means, I can't help it. Shiyifu spread his hands and said. And it's not that I'm reluctant to part with 1 Yanguo coin, it's the merchant's sense of accomplishment. You know this, otherwise you wouldn't have died and wouldn't have let go. Little Baron smiled noncommittally, thinking about everything is the habit of being a businessman and also the fun. Let me introduce you, Star City Stark, I'm working for him. Shiyifu pointed to the side with his palm. Whether it's a part-time job or not, we are a mutually beneficial cooperative relationship. Star City Stark smiled and waved his hand. Star City Stark, really him? Little Baron was a little surprised, turned his head to look at Shiyisuke and said. Your boss is very cute. He is not only a game expert, but also a big boss in reality. I still have some understanding. Shiyifu responded, it's the ceiling of the tech house. Then do you know that the recently launched luxury version of the game experience cabin was developed using his player protection system? Ah, Wu Lianzuo and Enfeng were all shocked when they heard the words. The game warehouse is jointly developed by several international manufacturers. With their strength, they actually need to use something made by a civilian to continue to upgrade. Why didn't I hear you say it at all? Enfeng patted Stark City Stark, you made a lot of money this time, right? There's a confidentiality agreement, what should I say? Star City Stark touched his face, and said very calmly, as for how much I will earn, I don't know very well. Anyway, I will get some money for all the game warehouses they sell in the future. As you know, money is just a string of numbers to me. It's the same whether you earn more or less, but I'm happiest when. Star City Stark paused at this point. Ah, no, I don't seem to be particularly poor. Everyone. When he was in the Star City of Stark Versailles, Little Baron greeted Shiyisuke and was about to go offline. Although I know you don't play this kind of games very much, can't such high-quality games attract you? Shiyifu asked doubtfully. It's just that the quality is too high and the picture is too realistic, so people like me who rarely touch horror games can't stand it. Little Baron shook his head with a smile and said. It's only been less than half an hour, and I've already thought about you several times. I hope my game cabin is safe and sound. There's another reason. I really have to go to Koyamaguchi and become a seller now. The Yin soldiers crossing the border did not lie to you. Wherever you go now, the zombie account linked by the studio is making money. This is the #1 online game, a scattered businessman like me can't get along. Quote. Perhaps, when True Doomsday becomes popular, I will endure the physical discomfort and come over. After all, I won't have trouble with money. Little Baron said, and the game characters disappeared in front of Shiyisuke. He got off. Stark asked. Shiyisuke nodded. This type of game is rarely played, and I can't stand such an environment. This is also normal. Stark slammed his mouth and said. It's only us, the core players of the last days, who feel like they've come home in this environment. As for your 5 consecutive sittings, it is the blessing of LSP's faith that allows you to survive the adaptation period. Although I don't want to admit it, Shiyisuke smiled, but, you were right. Old Shi, you guys are really good at playing tricks. Pigeon Cheng Jing walked over angrily. You even found someone to act in a play to cheat our money. Don't talk nonsense. Star City Stark pretended to be surprised and said. How can I call the gold I collected in Yanguo coins a fraud? Shiyifu chimed in. Don't be impatient, you haven't lost much. As there are more and more advanced group missions, the price of gold will plummet. Quote. We do this simply to reduce the difficulty of collecting money. That's it. Pigeon became more refined and looked a little better. If there will be a sudden increase in players soon, will the price of gold still fall? Stark thought thoughtfully. It depends on how many players there are, and the price of gold is still a matter of supply and demand. The player's consumption rate is much faster than the gold withdrawal rate, so the gold price will not fall. Shiyifu replied. Then, Pigeon Spirit, I'm really sorry. Stark glanced at Pigeon Cheng Jing with a little sympathy, and then walked away. The pigeon was a bit confused when it was said that it had become a sperm, and it stayed where it was and did not continue to look for trouble. Could it be that the number of players in this game will increase soon? Shiyisuke followed and asked. Didn't I say that I want to help promote this game? I spent some money on the PR company yesterday, and they should start working. Star City Stark glanced at the virtual currency in his backpack. Including the 20 gold from Pigeon Jing, I collected a total of 46 gold this time. This is probably the most profitable time I have collected gold. I use 16 gold to buy AKM and 7.62mm bullets, and the rest you can collect other players' defense equipment. It is best to get together several sets, head plus armor plus leggings. After the defense is fully equipped, we don't need to bother Brother Chuan, and we can wipe out a Night Devil's lair. Quote. Shiyisuke nodded, and took Jin to put away his defensive equipment. Stark found Joe Zekwon, who was resting with his eyes closed. Brother Chuan, wake up. Stark shook Joe Zekwon. I brought 15 gold to buy a gun. Joe Zekwon didn't open his eyes. But inexplicably, there was a small pot of medicine in his hand. Is this a potion? Stark took a closer look, and it didn't look like the recovery props they usually use. Although I know that I can't touch the things in the NPC's hands. But driven by curiosity, Stark still couldn't help stretching out his hand. If you move your hand 1 centimeter forward, your friend can collect the body for you. A light word came from Joe Zechuan's mouth. He opened his eyes and stared at Stark. At the same time, a long sword was pressed against Stark's chest. As long as Stark of Star City stretches his hand further, this long sword will immediately penetrate his heart. Stark quickly retracted his hand. At that moment, he really felt Joe Zechuan's killing intent. Even if his NPC favorability is already very high. He continued to try to touch the bottle of potion. Joe Zekwon would definitely end him without hesitation. What the hell is this that makes the NPC take it so seriously? Stark couldn't help but wonder. On Joe Zechuan's side, he was already scolding his mother in his heart. What the hell, you still have to go back to your own safe house to visit a certain treasure. If the perfect gene potion with 10,000 points is completely lost by the player. Joe Zekwon took a deep breath with some fear. If this happened, Joe Zekwon reckoned that he would be in a panic. It is possible to massacre players in a wave. Quickly put the perfect gene potion back into the backpack. Joe Zekwon frowned and looked at Stark. One said angrily, how old are you? Don't you know not to touch other people's things without permission? I can't even touch it, there is an air wall beyond the hand. Stark whispered. You were looking for me to buy AKM, right? Now the price has increased, 25 gold. Joe Zekwon put the fully equipped AKM in his hand and said coldly. Stark was stunned. Good guy, directly increase the price by 10 gold. Did the action of reaching out lose so many NPC favorability points? If you want to buy it now, I still have something urgent to do. Joe Zekwon urged, just forget about the money. Enough money, enough. Stark quickly called Shiyisuk over for a deal. After the explanation, Shiyifu subconsciously asked, isn't it 15 gold, why is it increased by 10 gold? I owe it to myself. Stark, who knew he was wrong, just smiled helplessly. He had nothing to complain about either. If other people want to stretch their hands into his arms when he closes his eyes and meditates, he will also explode his hair. Brother Chuan, this is 25 gold. Stark handed over 25 gold to Joe Zekwon and successfully received a full AKM. After receiving the gun, he immediately played with it in his hand. Tisk. This hand feels better than Uzi. Holographic, quadruple mirror, 8x mirror. In the future, we will fight monsters, and I will be able to stand tall and be a sniper. Stark tried to shoot 2 shots, but found that there was no bullet in the gun. Brother Chuan, do you have 7.62mm bullets for sale? How much? Joe Zekwon glanced at him and asked quickly. How much? Stark almost said how much he wanted, and quickly changed his words. I still need 500 rounds. 7.62mm bullets, 50 copper, 500 rounds, 2.5 gold. After Stark paid 2.5 gold, it was time for Joe Zekwon to perform Dimensional Pocket again. Joe Zekwon just took out the bullets, turned around and wanted to leave. Brother Chuan, Stark called Joe Zekwon, and wanted to ask about the potion. What I saw was Joe Zechuan's already impatient expression. It's okay. Stark waved his hand quickly. After Joe Zekwon left, Stark scratched his neck and muttered to himself. This perfect AI is made meticulously. I just said that I have something urgent to do, but now I am delayed by the players, I am really dissatisfied. If you continue to delay time, he will definitely do it. After Joe Zekwon sold the AKM, he walked quickly to the residential building. He didn't bother to pay attention to the newly arrived 2,750 points. What he is thinking about now is to use the perfect gene potion in his hand. Hall, do you know how to inject intravenous fluids? Jo Zekwon found the doctor on the first floor. The doctor nodded. Inject this bottle of medicine into my body. Jo Zekwon handed Perfect Gene Potion to the doctor. You go and call Yide over. After injecting me with the medicine, you two will guard me. After confessing, Jo Zekwon lay down on the infusion bed temporarily prepared in the warehouse. Yide Quartermaster stood guard outside the door. The doctor began to operate, injecting Perfect Gene medicine into Jo Zechuan's body. Just after taking the medicine, Jo Zekwon still showed doubts. After injecting the medicine, you don't feel anything at all. Until, after tens, there was a strong burning sensation all over his body. This burning sensation does not come from the outside, but from inside. Just like, the bones are going to be melted by the heat. Ah, Jo Zekwon couldn't help screaming, and then passed out with black eyes. Chapter 71. After an unknown amount of time, Jo Zekwon finally regained consciousness. He opened his eyes and looked around. It feels like the whole world is much clearer than before. It seems that the five senses have been significantly enhanced. Jo Zekwon sat up and moved his limbs, and paid attention to the changes in his own attributes. The attribute is still the previous full 66 points, without any change. Then, is my injection successful or not? Jo Zekwon lowered his head and muttered, then shook his head and smiled. I'm wondering what to do, just ask the system if it's okay. Bringing his attention back to his mind, Jo Zekwon asked. System, has my perfect genetic medicine been successfully injected? System, yes. Close black lens bracket. Hearing the short answer from the system, Jo Zekwon paused before continuing to ask. Then, what about the effect? System, after upgrading the perfect gene, the upper limit of the host's attributes will increase to 10 times that of ordinary humans. Close black lens bracket. Excluding other abilities to increase the upper limit of all attributes of the host is now 600 points. Close black lens bracket. Then with my sword bone skill, my attribute limit is 660 points. The system affirmed it. Jo Zechuan's expression was happy at first, but then he let out a sigh of relief. However, this is still not enough. The upper limit of the attributes of the perfect gene human is only equivalent to the lower limit of the attributes of other alien races. Even if the attributes are fully trained, it will be difficult to beat those alien races. We still have to find a way to continue to improve. Thinking about this, Jo Zekwon remembered that the bodies used by those players were also perfect genes. Doesn't that mean that the upper limit of the player's attribute can only reach 600 points and cannot be improved? Then if the task related to the alien race is triggered, didn't these players send them one by one? Sensing Jo Zechuan's doubts, this time the system took the initiative to answer. The more than 100 ways to increase the upper limit listed last time also apply to other players. Close black lens bracket. You mean, fusion G virus or something? Jo Zekwon was taken aback. It is really possible for these players to fuse the G virus in order to strengthen themselves. For them, it's just a game. To get a better game experience, it doesn't matter if the player is not a human being. In the future, there will probably be all kinds of weird guys in the player camp. Make sure that you have successfully injected the perfect genetic medicine. Jo Zekwon calmed down and carefully browsed through his personal information. Grade, sword, LV 26. Firearms, LV 15. Knife, LV 11. Crossbow, LV 7. Constitution, 66. Strength, 66. Agility, 66. Intelligence, 66. Basic upper limit 600. Physical attack power, 10 to 12. Empty hand. Magic attack power, 0. Attack speed, 2.1. Movement speed, 66. No weight and no other bonuses. Skills, 3 slashes, sword bone, firearms proficiency, quick knife draw. PS. Avoid watery words, this interface will only appear after a stage is upgraded. Jo Zekwon nodded in satisfaction. Compared with when he didn't turn on the system a few days ago, his strength is already vastly different. After purchasing the perfect genetic potion, the remaining points plus the recovery of gold coins will reach 7,300 points. Zhou Zequan took a look at his remaining points, and felt that a certain treasure could continue shopping. Now there are no skills to learn, and the points are not enough to exchange for blood. If you want to improve your combat power, you can only start with equipment. Quote. Zhou Zequan currently only has one shoe that is epic equipment. Now that there are so many points left, it is completely possible to upgrade all the equipment to a higher level. The first one, of course, is weapons. Output is key. Zhou Zequan first spent 300 points to make up a fully equipped AKM. Next, start browsing the sword series in the host store. The sword is currently his main weapon, and he needs 2 better ones. Within the range of swords he could use, he carefully selected them. Zhou Zequan finally set his sights on the frosty sword. The name of the sword, Burning Ice. The blade is 70 centimeters long and translucent. This is an epic one-handed sword, only 2,000 points can be redeemed. Zhou Zequan glanced at the attributes of Burning Ice and understood why it was so expensive. This is a sword with special effects attack. Burning Ice. Quality. Purple Epic. Physical attack power. 531 to 688. Armor penetration. 110. Cold damage. 200 per second, lasting threes. Can slow the target. Attack conversion. Convert 12% of physical attack power into cold damage. Durability. 30/30. Required strength. 50. Requires dexterity. 60. Requires level. Sword LV 25. Zhou Zequan took this Burning Ice and encountered the Doomsday creatures who wanted to escape, and directly applied the special cold slowing effect. Sticky to death. It took 4,000 points to exchange for 2 Burning Ice. Holding the sword in his hand, Zhou Zequan really felt the bone-chilling coolness coming from the sword. But as long as he's not idle cutting himself, it doesn't deal cold damage. Zhou Zequan glanced at the attack power display. Physical attack power directly breaks through 1,000 to 1401, approximately 1,861. There is also an extra cold attack power of 210 to 279 in the personal attributes. Now I am facing the 4th order end-time creatures, and I am also cutting melons and vegetables. Zhou Zequan also plans to use the remaining 3,000 points to update his defense equipment. However, it was discovered that the number of online game users displayed on the system interface suddenly began to skyrocket. Number of people online, 200. Number of people online, 300. Number of people online, 500. 1,000. 2,000. Zhou Zequan stopped browsing a certain treasure, frowned and asked the system, "Did you have a bug?" In such a short time, the number of people online has reached 2,000. Looking at the continuously rising data, Zhou Zequan had only one thought in his mind. Something went wrong with the system specification. 2 seconds later, the system gave a reply. No data error detected. Close black lens bracket. So, it's the real number of players. Zhou Zequan still had a skeptical attitude. I don't believe it, I have to go to the alley at the resurrection point to have a look. Zhou Zequan opened the warehouse door. A group of players were found outside the door. What are you all doing here? Zhou Zequan asked. Star City Stark, who was at the forefront, held a loaded AK in his hand and looked vigilant. 2 hours ago you screamed in the warehouse, we thought there was an invasion by creatures of the last days. We were all there to help, but the quartermaster guarded the door and wouldn't let us in, we just had to wait outside. The combat power of the quartermaster is far less than that of some players, but as long as there is an NPC protection mechanism. The gate he guards, players cannot forcefully break through. Zhou Zequan looked at the quartermaster and nodded. The quartermaster did his job. Then, he casually found an excuse to prevaricate. I just had a slight injury and asked the doctor to take care of it, and then squinted inside for a while. There is no invasion of end-time creatures. The player looked at the doctor following Zhou Zequan and believed his statement. Wait a minute, why do I think Brother Chuan is much more handsome than before? Some players discovered a change in Zhou Zechuan's appearance. No, you want to use this method to increase the favorability of NPCs, it's a bit too licking the dog. What does it mean to be much more handsome than before? Brother Chuan has always been so handsome. Some players retorted and praised. I'm really not a 247 lick. Don't you think that the appearance of NPCs are much better than before? Huh, take a closer look, it really is. Brother Chuan had plastic surgery while he was treating his injury. Zhou Zequan did not participate in the discussion among the players. He knew that his facial features and appearance had indeed changed, and it was positive. This is all thanks to the perfect genetic potion. As a genetically perfect human being, the appearance and figure are naturally at the perfect level of human beings. As for the player's appearance and figure, it was pinched in reverse after the system scanned the player. You know I'm fine, so don't gather here. Zhou Zequan waved his hand as a sign to drive him away. He is now in a hurry to go to the Resurrection Alley to check the real number of players. Brother Chuan, don't go out now, it's very chaotic outside. Stark waved. It's a mess. Zhou Zequan wondered, why is it messed up? When there are too many people, it will be chaotic. Hey, your two translucent swords look good, do you sell them? As Stark of Star City spoke, his eyes drifted to the two burning ice in Zhou Zechuan's hand. Don't sell it. If you sell it, you can't afford it. Seriously, what's going on outside? Zhou Zequan asked. I don't know how to explain this to you. Stark thought for a while, and replied, probably. I asked someone to publicize this place, and then there were a lot of fun. A lot of survivors came here because of it. Old Shi, don't tell me that you bought all the trending searches on Weibo, paper paste, and headlines. A player who saw the trending search was immediately surprised. Really, this game is a hot search. If someone reminds you, more players will open another window to check the social platform. They were all surprised by the sudden rise in popularity of True End Times. The first entry in Weibo's hot search, Real End Times Game Super 3A. The first question on the paper paste hot list, how to evaluate the perfect INPC in the Real End Times game, especially Zhou Zequan. Headlines first, but on any well-known social platform, you will definitely see the 4 words True End Times when you open it. My god, how much did you pay for this hot search? Lao Shi. Star City Square responded with a smile. I won't disclose the specific number in detail, anyway, in other games, if you spend a lot of money, it will definitely rank first in the combat power list. With that said, Stark leaned closer to Zhou Zequan. So, the game company doesn't give me any shares, but also helps me adjust the explosion rate. Can't I, the spiritual shareholder, enjoy some privileges? Zhou Zequan. Unfortunately, the money you used to promote this place may not have been spent properly. Zhou Zequan glanced at the number of people online, and said, many of those survivors have already left. All gone. What do you mean? Stark asked. There are a lot of people who are offline. Just now, people outside the community were bullying people. Now, at least half of them are gone. A player reminded. No reason, didn't I already make this game a hot search? Star City Stark was a little suspicious of life. Zhou Zequan smiled, and returned to the warehouse to continue buying defensive equipment. The number of people online is indeed constantly rising, but the number of players who quit the game does not drop at all. From a visual point of view, it is a wavy line that keeps going up and down. Zhou Zequan probably guessed what was going on. Many players were deceived into the game by hot searches. The harsh environment persuaded some of them to retreat. The smell of blood and rancidity fumes away part of the negative feedback without completely shutting it down. Then there are completely realistic zombies. That ugly appearance directly hits the face. I'm afraid it will scare players who don't play horror games very much. Even if most players are interested in horror games, they still watch the hosts play them. Even if I bought the game myself, I didn't dare to play it, because it would be dusty on the game platform. Hot search for half an hour. The number of players in True Doomsday finally stabilized at around 1,000. The effect is still there, but the time to warm up is really wrong. Zhou Zequan shook his head with a smile. It's noon, the real core gamers are still sleeping. After clarifying the reason for the sudden increase in players, Zhou Zequan finally found 2 favorite defense equipment in the host mall. Just spent all 3,000 points. Shark Live broadcast platform, Yinmeng Live broadcast room. Yin Daemeng started the live broadcast as usual. Mao Ning, I'm a little late, I'm sorry. I just went out to play and took a boat for a while, so I was delayed for a while. Hey, thank you old Wu for the big fly. Okay, let's not talk nonsense, we are going to broadcast the game, let's continue to be the champion today. Yin Daemong Open Team Manager, a management game that simulates MOBA combat. He turned his head to see the barrage feedback. As a result, none of them were talking about the content of the game, and all of them wanted him to play a game called Real End Times. Open black lens bracket boss, let's play the real end of the world. It's not scary at all, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket boss, let's broadcast the real end of the world, a casual survival game, close black lens bracket. Thousands of blood books, broadcast the real end of the world for a while. Stop swiping, Jihu doesn't play horror games. It's not considered a horror game, it's just survival in the last days. What's the matter? Yin Daemong frowned. Did the trolls come to post advertisements just after the broadcast? What about the housing management? The housing management will seal all those who post advertisements. After a while, the bullet screen was still full of advertisements. Is there no housekeeper at this point? Yin Daemong decided to do it himself. Just click on a barrage to see the id. Well, my own people. It's the real estate manager advertising here. Has your number been stolen? Or is there an insider who has been bribed? Yin Da pondered fiercely. Not so much. It takes so much trouble to use barrage to advertise. You just let me promote it and play the game for a day or two, wouldn't it be enough? Yin Daemong picked up his mobile phone and sent a micro-Q voice. Hey, cousin, it's like this, my bullet screen is full of real Doomsday, have you played a game? Cousin, people are killing zombies in the last days. I don't have time to chat with you. You can go on your own. Yin Daemong took the words, the real end of the world, and turned over more than 10 pages, but he couldn't find any useful information. Hey, that's weird, isn't it? Yin Daemong made another micro-Q voice. Shu, are you playing the real end of the world? Yangshu, ha ha ha, I am the king of survival in the last days. Yin Daemong decided not to ask other people, and opened the host area of the Shark Live broadcast room to see if it was right. Hey, what the hell, why is the host area all broadcasting games? Huh, the screen of the game. How can it be so real? Thousands of common questions from players who have entered the real end times appeared in Yin Daemong's heart. Is really a game? Yin Daemong didn't hesitate any longer, opened the game platform, and clicked Real End Times Game Storage. After entering the game, follow the novice guide to familiarize yourself with each template. Okay, I understand. It's just an ordinary online game. Yin Daemong stamped his id Yin Daemong. Then I looked around to find something. At this moment, the bullet screen floated up. Don't look for it, you can't adjust the difficulty of fierceness. Open black lens bracket boss, don't worry, as long as you don't run around in this game, you won't die. Close black lens bracket. Boss, remember to go to the residential building to find the NPC to get the task when you enter the game. Close black lens bracket. Look at what you said. Survival in the last days should have the atmosphere of survival in the last days, how can you go where there are more people? Yin Daemong retorted. Open black lens bracket, it's over. Jihu feels like he's going to die, close black lens bracket. It's okay, the resurrection time is fast when the level is low. Close black lens bracket. I'll just wait for one, get out of my game. Close black lens bracket. Closing square bracket. Yin Daemong was soon born in the original alley. He looked at the alley full of players, took a deep breath and said, there are so many people. These people seem to be picking up trash here. Jia is really a horror game. There are no more zombies in this area, so it can only be regarded as a beggar simulator. A player came over and shouted, boss, I'm a water friend, and I'm playing while watching your live broadcast. Shuiyu, hello. Yin Daemong greeted Shuiyu. You just said that there are no more zombies here. Water friend's point. He nodded and replied, not only are the zombies gone, even the supplies have been searched by the previous players. Now new players go directly to residential buildings to find NPCs to pick up quests. According to the strategy shared by other players, new players first go to collect supplies, collect weapons, and clear the resurrection point. Quote, complete these tasks, then buy some recovery items, and then you can start the task of killing zombies. However, there is already a long queue of players queuing up for missions in residential buildings. It is suggested that we collect supplies and weapons first, and then go back, so as to save the time of queuing multiple times. Okay, I'll follow you. Yin Daemong nodded. A water friend comes to lead the way, and there will be a second and a third soon. As the number of people increased, Yin Daemong gradually formed a team of more than 20 people. At this time, the barrage began to brush up again. Open black lens bracket. Well, the fierce difficulty has begun. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Nanny mode on. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Don't be embarrassed, the boss is in command. Close black lens bracket. Closing parenthesis. Yin Daemong looked at the barrage, and frowned unconsciously. With the water friend will help with doing that, and it will appear that he is being nanny. This is the point where he is most easily criticized. So recently he played games with his water friends, and he has tried his best to do a lot of things by himself. But this true end times doesn't understand anything, and the strategy can't be found by searching. You have to let the water friends take you to familiarize yourself with it for a while. Don't worry, everyone, I'll fight the zombies when I find a suitable weapon. Yin Daemong followed the water friend, and it didn't take long to collect 10 kilograms of food and an iron rod that could be handed over to the task. Boss, let's go back and hand in the mission. If we go any further, we'll be in the foggy area of War 4.0 that no players have searched for. A water friend suggested. There is still fog of war on the map, which means that no player has been here, and there may be a large number of zombies. Some water friends were afraid that Yin Daemong would not understand, and explained aloud. Again, that's not just right. I've been in the game for so long, and I haven't seen any moving zombies yet. Yin Daemong picked up the iron rod in his hand and waved it. Today, my 8th treasure, Liang Yinchin, is about to come out of the rivers and lakes again. Water friend. Isn't this an iron rod? Yin Daemong. Those with long poles have the same effect. In order to prove that he was not being nanny, Yin Daemong decided to take a risk and find a few zombies in the foggy area to fight. When I fight with the zombies, don't come to help me, let me do it myself. Yin Daemong said. The water friends nodded one after another, they also liked to see Yin Daemong fighting alone. A group of people entered the foggy area. Sure enough, there were more dead households immediately. There is no danger at all for a team of more than 20 armed with equipment, facing E-level zombies. Even the number of hundreds of zombies can be easily resolved with a little pulling. Yin Da slammed a zombie to death, but more mail was robbed. He felt a little unsatisfied. Then go deeper alone, to a corner. Just after turning the corner, a huge zombie with lumps all over his body appeared in front of his eyes. What a fat zombie, Yin Daemong muttered. Boss. Boss. Run fast. Boss run. Some water friends behind immediately shouted. Don't worry, I'll take care of this zombie. Yin Daemong raised the volume, and smiled at the audience in the live broadcast room. Look at this fat zombie, does it look like it can be counted? This stupid look, I feel very dull. Would it be a little too much for me to bully this number one-on-one? Yin Daemong continued to interact with the audience. He didn't notice that his teammates were getting farther and farther away from him. At this distance, Yin Daemong could no longer hear the team voice boss, run. Fortunately, he still has the habit of watching bullet chat feedback. Why is the screen full of swipes telling me to run? I just killed a zombie, didn't these water friends see it? Yin Daemong was a little puzzled. By comparison, the zombie he killed before was much stronger than this fat man. It doesn't matter, let's kill this fat zombie first. Fall, look at my 8th treasure Liangyan gun. Yin Daemong shouted and stepped forward, jumped up and hit the fat zombie on the head with a sap. There was a crisp sound of clang. -1 damage floated out of the fat zombie's head. At the same time, the blood bar of the fat zombie also lit up from Yin Daemong's perspective. This bastard has 5,500 blood points. I hit one with one stick. Is there something wrong with the numerical settings of this game? Yin Daemong squinted his eyes and muttered. After he knocked out the blood bar and name of the fat zombie with a stick. The bullet screen is refreshed again. Blaster. Level 4G virus mutant. Level D Elite Monster. Blaster. Level 4 G Virus Mutant. Level D Elite Monster. More than 95% of the barrage this time is the same content. All are to remind Yin Daemon of the true identity of this fat zombie. Fatty Gia is called a blaster. What kind of blasting method? Under the warning of many barrages, Yin Daemon took 2 steps back slightly. But at first glance, the fat zombie still stayed in place. A nauseous, very painful expression. Yin Daemon couldn't help being brave again. Are you sure this is AD level elite monster? It's weak no matter how you look at it. There was a clang. Fall. Yin Da rushed up and gave the fat zombie another stick. Still 23-1 damage. The fat zombie still stayed where he was, looking like he wanted to vomit. In this way, Yin Daemon is even more unscrupulous. Clang, clang, clang. One knock after another rang out one after another. Yin Da laughed fiercely and interacted with the audience. It's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. Attention shifted to the barrage. Full screen is opening square bracket question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark closing square bracket. Opening square bracket question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark closing square bracket. Opening square bracket question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark closing square bracket. Yin Daemon secretly laughed, just to broadcast the effect. At this time, a string of words appeared among the many open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket, which attracted Yin Daemon's attention. Jihu never thought that elite monsters might be holding back their big moves if they stand still. Hold the big move. Yin Daemon took a deep breath, and he looked at the fat zombie with some worry. Why don't you just slip away? Continue to fight, I don't have enough physical strength. Yin Daemon took a look at his physical strength, only 30% was left. This will definitely not last him more than 5,000 knocks. But when he scanned to his own level, he gave up the idea of leaving again. It's just a few sticks of effort. The level of his iron rod has been upgraded from IV1 to IV8. Guys, I seem to have encountered a game bug. The zombie stood still and let me hit a few sticks. Guess how to find it? I have been promoted to level 7. Yin Daemon shared his discovery with the audience. There is a high probability that I will be banned, but I am not performing a full level performance for everyone. The number was about to disappear. Yin Daemon became more courageous. He almost hit the fat zombie's face with the iron rod, wanting to have a close relationship with it. And just when he was about to swing his stick again, the fat zombie finally spit out some liquid from his mouth. What the hell did you eat? Why is the thing you vomit green? Yin Daemon frowned disgustedly. This green liquid is the bile of the fat zombie. Spitting bile as one of his means of attack. After spitting out some bile, it was like opening a floodgate. The amount of bile in the fat zombie's mouth is getting bigger and bigger, and the spit speed is getting faster and faster. Yin Daemon realized something was wrong. It is very likely that this is the big move of this elite monster. He turned his head and ran away, but it was completely late by this time. The fat zombie's mouth is no longer spitting bile, but spitting bile. The green liquid sprayed all over the sky, and the range of firepower covered the entire street. Yin Daemon was sprayed with bile and turned into a little green man. Viscous bile sticks to his eyelids, and he can't see the way at all. Yin Daemon completely stayed where he was. He felt that he should be able to wait for his resurrection. But after a few seconds, he was surprised to find that he didn't lose any blood. I said it's a bug. It hurt me all over, and I didn't even get 10 points of damage. Yin Daemon laughed again. You let me see the map. I have no vision, I can't see the map. Listen to the sound. There are many footsteps, but the zombies are all limping. It is impossible for the footsteps to be so fast and heavy. Oh shit, how did I get bitten? Yin Daemon was listening to the footsteps when he was suddenly knocked down by a zombie. With one big mouth, a piece of flesh and blood was torn off from his body. As more footsteps approached, Yin Daemon was soon overwhelmed by zombies. Feel the body being torn apart, being chewed and devoured. Even if the negative feedback is 0%, it still makes Yin Daemon's scalp tingle and his mind explode. My mother, force the game. Yin Daemon turned off True Doomsday directly, and forcibly let his soul wear back. After the forced retreat, the body in the game was not recovered by the system, and was quickly eaten by the zombies. Yin Daemong in the game room is already sweating profusely. His vision was blocked by bile, and he was thrown down and bitten by a large group of zombies. This feeling is really. He opened the convertible function of the game compartment and took a few deep breaths. Then he lit a cigarette and smoked silently. Barrage. Jihu seems to be quite frightened. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Jihu is frightened and autistic. Close black lens bracket. What am I talking about? Wait for one to get out of my game room. Yin Daemong looked at the barrage, and spit out a mouthful of smoke. I just smoked slowly. Why did I get out of my game room? Don't worry, everyone, I will definitely continue playing the Zhong game. Not to mention, it's been a long time since I've been so scared by a horror game. Hey, how interesting. After I finish smoking this cigarette, I'll go organize it. Our CCTG team will enter this game, dominate. Yin Daemong was so scared by the fat zombie that he quit the game and started to pick up people in reality. In the apocalypse, the fat zombies who have used their big moves don't intend to stop Yin Daemong. Thousands of zombies affected by his liver juice rushed towards the Beluo community under his call. Real end times. The biggest wave of zombies has come in the past few days. Players who were still searching for supplies and leveling up on the street encountered this wave of zombies, and they were directly eaten to nothing. A large number of players rushed to the second unit, the residential building where Zhou Zequan was located, after being revived in other units of Beluo community. Hurry up and inform Brother Chuan. A large number of zombies are rushing towards our community. A 2-unit residential building is basically full of core players in the last days. A core player asked very calmly, are there only zombies, or are there high-level creatures like night hunters and jockeys? The messenger player in the front line thought about it carefully and replied, I didn't look carefully, they rushed over quickly, and by the time I realized it, they were already waiting for the resurrection interface. They should be some ordinary zombies. Quote, as soon as the words came out, the core players laughed in unison. Are some cute newbies, who can be frightened like this by the lowest ordinary zombies. But those zombies are a little different from others. The player who reported the letter wanted to refute. The core players waved to him and said with a smile, don't panic, we have done a lot of protection for this residential building. That kind of low-level zombies, let alone a few hundred, even thousands of them will not be able to attack. Well, why are you filming me? This core player was about to pretend to be a wave in front of Mengxin, when his teammates suddenly started patting him on the back. Look, the gate of the community. Didn't Mengxin say that there is a wave of zombies coming? There is nothing to panic about. This core player doesn't care at all. After turning his head to look at the gate of the community, his eyes widened immediately. The tide of zombies over there is pouring into the community at an alarming speed. There are several heads that have been attacked by the player, and the blood bars and names are displayed. These are all E-class elite zombies. There are at least 1,000 heads. It was originally just an ordinary zombie of E level, after being stimulated by the bile of the blaster. All rampage, upgrade, power up, move faster. Even the blood bar is much longer than before. If they were still weak chickens in The Walking Dead, now they have all turned into mad dogs in Train to Busan and World War Zombies. Why do you call this an ordinary zombie? The core players squinted at Mengxin. So I said, it's a little different from other zombies. Quick retreat. Withdraw to the residential building. The core players shouted quickly. At this time, all the players in a second-dan residential building became alert. The movement of more than 1,000 mad dog zombies outside is too loud. The iron gates made by the players on the first floor were tightly closed. Several main players arrived behind the door, fearing that the door's protection would not be enough. The knocking sound of ping 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 pong kept ringing outside the door. Hold the door. Hold the door. Hold the door. The Game of Thrones fans who don't know where they came from shouted on the first floor. B. Nima is playing tricks, go to the 15th floor and find Brother Chuan. A player shouted. If these more than 1,000 zombies broke through the residential building, their safe house spawn points will all fall. The materials and equipment stored in the safe house will also be emptied. A few play. The family rushed to the 15th floor in a very fast time. Outside 1501, the volume and frequency of knocking on the door was comparable to that of an iron gate on the first floor. Brother Chuan, something went wrong. Brother Chuan, help me. Brother Chuan, we need your help. Zhou Zequan, who was experimenting with the effect of defense equipment inside, slammed his mouth and opened the door. Encountered high-level end-time creatures again. It's not considered high-level. The player nodded and shook his head for a while. It's not high-level, are you in such a hurry? Zhou Zequan asked. Too many. That's right, it's about to rush into the residential building. How many? Do you want to rush to a residential building? Zhou Zequan glanced at the host's special map, and he couldn't help but let out a curse. On the host's special supply map, a 2-unit residential building has been filled with dense red dots. What kind of zombie siege? Zhou Zequan squinted his eyes and asked, which heartless person brought so many zombies here? There is no one to attract. The player shook his head and said, I heard from the revived players that they came all the way from Wall Street to this side. That's right, I remembered that a live broadcaster met a fat zombie on Wall Street. He is AD level elite. Does it have something to do with this fat zombie? Fat zombie, you finally gave useful information. Zhou Zequan took a deep breath. After the player mentioned fat zombie, a system prompt sounded in Zhou Chuan's mind. Open black lens bracket collected new mission information close black lens bracket. The host can now issue new tasks to resist invasion E. Defense against invasion E team. Pre-task. The number of players required is 375. Task requirements. Resist the zombie invasion summoned by the blaster, find and kill the blaster. Difficulty rating. E. Task reward. Reward 1 silver. After the new task appeared, the players in front of Zhou Zequan immediately took it. It's also a team mission, why is the reward for this mission only 1 silver? You don't even look at the number of missions, 375 people. The difficulty is much smaller than the previous group. This kind of large-scale housekeeping task, does it count all the players in the entire residential building? Zhou Zequan glanced at the host's special map, frowned and said, what are you still doing here? Zombies have already invaded this residential building. The iron gate on the first floor has been forcibly breached by the wave of zombies. There are more zombies piled up outside the wall, entering from the balcony on the second floor. Surrounded by a large number of E-level elite zombies, even the core players of the last days will immediately experience attrition. There are also those who want to play tricks and stay in the safe house. The zombies broke into the door directly. The resurrection point fell directly. These players turned around and wanted to go downstairs to help, but found that Zhou Zequan had entered room 1501 again. Brother Chuan, aren't you coming? I have to get the equipment, you want me to kill zombies in casual clothes? Zhou Zequan pouted. Entered the room, picked up 2 burning ice. Wear poison stinger greaves on your feet. The helmet and armor are the newly purchased 1500 point epic defense equipment, which are translucent like burning ice. The unique shape and color match perfectly with the burning ice in his hand. Zhou Zequan put on his equipment and walked to the aisle, and the eyes of the players who asked for help looked straight. This outfit is too gorgeous. It feels like the style of painting is different from them. These players are standing next to Zhou Zequan, and their dressing styles are in sharp contrast. Player. Broken armor, quaint blades, conspicuous bandages. At a glance, you can see that life is not easy, and it is difficult to survive in the last days. Zhou Zequan. Wearing a cold translucent battle armor, a crystal crown on his head, and holding sharp and conspicuous burning ice in both hands. Such equipment. Survival in the last days. Those who survive are those creatures of the last days. 2 pieces of 1500 point epic armor updated on Zhou Zequan. One is called Frost Armor. One is called Crown of Frost. Judging from the appearance of the equipment, these 2 pieces of defense equipment are compatible with burning ice. In fact, it's not just about looks. Even the attributes, these 2 pieces of defensive equipment are also for natural water. Frost Armor. Quality. Purple Epic. Physical Defense. 1200. Cold Resistance. Increased by 75%. Cold Damage. Increased by 20%. HP. Increased by 220. 150 150ths. Physical fitness required, 60. Required strength, 60. Frost crown. Quality, purple epic. Physical defense, 300. Cold resistance, increased by 50%. Cold damage, increased by 30%. Sand value recovery, 1.1 per second. Mana recovery, 1.5 per second. Skill cooldown, reduced by 10%. 80 80ths. Required strength, 30. Required intelligence, 60. Frost armor up to 1200 physical defense. Joe Zekwan wearing such a battle armor stood in front of night monsters, night hunters and other end of the world creatures. Let it catch. Don't try to break Joe Zechuan's defense even if the claws are broken. Frost armor has its own cold resistance. It looks like Joe Zechuan's whole body is icy. In fact, he inside the armor is very warm. The increase in ice damage is the main reason for choosing this armor. A piece of armor can also increase the cold damage of burning ice. That must be the choice. Crown of Frost also has a large increase in ice damage, which is also one of the reasons for choosing it. Moreover, such a partial French helmet also has effects such as mana recovery and CD reduction. The last time Joe Zekwan failed to catch up with the jockey, it was because 3 in a row entered the CD, which made his movement speed unable to keep up. Now, the special effect of ice damage slows down, plus triple slash with a 10% CD reduction. How can the creatures of the last days run away? These two pieces of armor on Joe Zekwan plus open black lens bracket burning ice close black lens bracket. It can be said to be a small, cold set. He also has shoulder armor, hand armor, belt, leg armor, etc. that can be updated. There are even accessories such as rings and necklaces that can increase ice damage. If Joe Zekwan can get together a whole set of epic cold suits, the visual impact brought to players will be extremely exaggerated. He will also directly transform into an ice-type physical battle that does not require the awakening of abilities. The host special map shows that more E-class elite zombies have invaded the residential building. Joe Zekwan immediately followed the player and rushed downstairs. The 14th floor, the 13th floor, plus E, the 8th floor, all the way to the 5th floor, Joe Zekwan stopped. He was surprised to find that the 5th floor was actually held. Are players already this aggressive now? Joe Zekwan looked puzzled. He looked forward through the crowd through the god's perspective of the map specially provided by the host. The top player in the front row of the player team. A look at the ID, they are all acquaintances. Star City Stark, Shiyifu, Prodigals Away and other 5 consecutive seats. All 6 of them are equipped with a set of rare blue armor plus leggings, and they are not afraid of super elite zombies at all. Even if these E-class zombies have intensified from weak chickens to mad dogs. The attack method is still grabbing and biting with the teeth. It's just a little more powerful. As far as the sharpness of their weapons is concerned, they can't penetrate the armor of these 6 people at all. These 6 people restrained the rising tide of zombies so abruptly. Not only that, in addition to the shield I have a 3rd level head and smash your skull to defend with all my strength. And at the end, Shiyifu, the fire ability compatriot, holding the scepter, sits outside the command. Prodigals Away, Eternal God, and Star City Stark are frantically harvesting the lives of these zombies. Especially Star City Stark, he held the AKM, looking through the holographic sight. Each shot will blast a blood hole in a zombie's head. Basically every bullet can take away a zombie, never the same. This guy really doesn't brag. The accuracy of holding an AKM is like aiming at the lock, and it's the kind of high-speed switching targets. Joe Zekwan was once again surprised by Stark's marksmanship. However, although they can resist the tide of zombies, the speed of killing zombies is still a bit slow. Joe Zekwan reckoned that it would take at least half an hour for these 6 people to kill more than 1,000 zombies in this corridor. He had to go and help pick up the speed. Joe Zekwan released the task of resisting invasion E while shuttling among the players. The line for releasing the task. Because of the special circumstances, he didn't bother to say it, too. It was originally added to maintain the NPC character settings. At the front row, Joe Zekwan raised 2 burning ice and was about to join the battle. But as soon as he took a step forward, he was stopped by Stark of Star City. Is it Brother Chuan? Stark glanced at Joe Zechuan's display ID, then looked at the equipment again, and immediately revealed the black question mark face. Brother Chuan, your equipment is too gorgeous, isn't it? Which fantasy game did you borrow it from? Seriously, you only need a pair of big wings on your back. Joe Zechuan didn't respond to Stark's words, but frowned and asked. Why are you stopping me? E-level elite zombies, we have experience in fighting them, let us brush them up first, you will be gone all at once. Maybe because Joe Zechuan might not understand what I said. Star City Stark paused, and changed his words. We need our own tempering, and we can't always rely on you. Joe Zechuan, if you have the ability, the next time you meet a boss good job don't call me. Joe Zechuan smacked his lips, issued a mission to them, and left the front row of the battlefield. With Star City Stark and Wu Lianzi leading the team, the pressure on the players is much less. Those with defense equipment can go up to brush experience, and those without defense equipment can rub it next to it. Soon, the remains of the zombies piled up in the corridor, forming a barrier of corpses. The corridor was blocked. Zombies can't go up, and players can't get down. Players and zombies temporarily truce. Taking advantage of this time, Star City Stark immediately turned around to look for Joe Zechuan. Joe Zechuan's fantastic equipment, he is too greedy. Where's Brother Chuan? He was still there just now, why is he gone now? Stark of Star City searched all over the residential building but did not see Joe Zechuan's shadow. A player reminded, Brother Chuan jumped out of the window on the 5th floor after he released the task. Quote, jumped off. Stark was taken aback when he heard the words, is he going to wipe out all the zombies in the community? Joe Zechuan turned down from the 5th floor just to kill these E-rank zombies. Of course not. His target is the mastermind behind these E-class elite zombies. A hot blaster who can intensify their upgrades and command them to rush to the building. Joe Zechuan moved towards Wall Street at high speed while looking at the host's special map. The map shows that there is a darkened and bolded red dot over there. Judging from previous experience, this big red dot is at least a D-level elite monster. Reach the destination. Joe Zechuan finally met the fat zombie that the players had been talking about. This stupid look. It's really hard to think that it's the behind-the-scenes commander of the invasion of more than 1,000 zombies. After Joe Zechuan observed for a while, he muttered. And why is this thing called a blaster? Isn't it more appropriate to call it a controller to control zombies to attack? Even though Joe Zechuan was a little puzzled, he still held open black lens bracket burning ice close black lens bracket and approached step by step. With the little ice-cold jacket, he is very courageous now. He didn't believe that a D-level elite monster could still cause him harm. When he came to the fat zombie, the distance was about 1 meter. The fat zombie still didn't attack him, but showed a look of wanting to vomit. If Yin Daemong sees this situation, 077 will definitely remind Joe Zechuan. Jigu Ba is accumulating strength and amplifying moves here. Run now. Thinking to throw up, Joe Zechuan glanced at the bile piled up on the street. He didn't need to check the monster information through the system to guess the attack method of the fat zombie. Of course he didn't have the chance to charge the fat zombie. He is confident that he will not be injured by high defense, but he will not concede that he must eat the damage of the creatures of the last days. Rub. Waving burning ice with both hands, he cut towards the fat zombie with a bone-chilling chill. The blade pierced through the air, causing -7,694 damage. One sword. Directly clear all the blood bars of the fat zombie, 5,500. But it was at the moment when the fat zombie's body was cut open by burning ice. Its entire body unexpectedly disintegrated on its own initiative. Exploded. There was a loud bang. A large amount of bile came to Joe Zechuan with a shock wave. Joe Zechuan was sent flying tens of meters away by the shock wave, and stopped when he hit a ruined wall. He was wearing high-strength armor and was not injured. It's just that the rich bile dyed his whole body green. The blaster is such a blaster. CDCH. Joe Zechuan stood up, wiping his bile in disgust. But this bile is sticky and thick, and it cannot be dug out without washing with a lot of water. WDNMD. This thing doesn't do much damage, but it's extremely disgusting. Joe Zechuan tried his best to wipe off the bile on his face, barely regaining some vision. Then look around for buildings that still have water. On the other side, Beluobing. The players pushed and cleared away the piled-up corpses of the zombie wreckage little by little. The guy who took it out is preparing to start the second round of competition with the zombie group. Suddenly, these zombies turned around and ran away, all rushing out of the Beluo community. The speed is even faster than when invading residential buildings. Stark takes aim from the 5th floor balcony. After these zombies moved away a little bit in the quadruple mirror, he retracted his gun and said in doubt, "What's the situation? Why did they all run away? Could it be possible that the zombies now organize to attack and retreat if they can't be defeated? Such a high IQ. Has the zombie army come?" "It's possible," said Shi Yifu on the side. "If the jockey is a 4th order G virus fusion, then these E-level elite zombies should be able to reach the 2nd level category. Equals the number of zombies at the 3rd level increases, and with the command of the 4th level and above, it is possible to form a zombie army. Zombie Legion. Looking at it this way, the current protection of our residential building is not very stable." Star City Stark took a deep breath and said, "After finishing this task, I have to pick up the old business I missed." Old business refers to. Stark smiled. As a core player in the end of the world, of course the old job is to build a family. Building a safe and secure place to live is the foundation of survival in the last days. After the residential building is cleaned up, let's go out and collect materials. Stark looked at Wu Lianzuo and said, "The more branches, grass, and ropes, the better. I'll build a grass wall to surround our residential building. The next time we encounter this kind of zombie invasion, the grass wall can at least give us some buffer time to prepare." Star City Stark thought about it and said, "I will send a message to the End-Time Core group later to let them collect materials together. After all, this is related to the safety of the resurrection point for all of us, and they have to contribute." Wall Street. Joe Zekwan, who was washing his bile with water, was surrounded by mad dog zombies. As a last resort, he could only use his hands to swing the sword. These zombies rushing towards him will shatter immediately when they touch his open black lens bracket. Burning ice close black lens bracket. The cold damage directly shattered these zombies into pieces of frozen meat and fell to the ground. Joe Zekwan swung his sword expressionlessly. Minutes later, Wall Street was covered with icy scum. Didn't those players say they have experience? Why did I kill hundreds of zombies, and the sword level is still 26, and the attributes haven't improved? Joe Zekwan glanced at his state, dissatisfied. The only increase in experience was given by the fat zombie before. Could it be that I can only kill D-level elite monsters to upgrade? It seems, as an NPC, I'm still not suitable for the same liver level as the player. In terms of attributes, let's go back and continue eating books. Joe Zekwan glanced at the mission Resist Invasion E. It showed that it had been completed. There are 3,750 points for 375 E-level missions. In addition to the recovery props sold before, and other low-level tasks, just got together 5,000 points. If he eats all the books for attribute points, he can increase his attributes by 500 points. Calculated in this way, it seems that it doesn't take long for a perfect genetic human to have full attributes. After washing off the remaining bile on his body, Joe Zekwan returned to the residential building. Brother Chuan is back. Some players immediately shouted when they saw Joe Zekwan. Brother Chuan Niubi. Brother Chuan is mighty. Brother Chuan. As soon as these players came here, they praised all kinds of things, which confused Joe Zekwan. Brother Chuan, we all know. It was you who lured the zombies to Wall Street, and then solved it. Some players said in admiration. There are such NPCs who help players with tasks, what more can I ask for? Joe Zekwan smiled awkwardly. In fact, he forgot to check the detailed information of Blaster in advance, so he was sprayed with bile all over again. With a small ice-cold jacket, it is still a bit too inflated. Brother Chuan is back. Stark of Star City also came in front of Joe Zekwan, smiling all over his face. Don't ask. If you ask, you don't sell. Joe Zekwan dispelled Stark's idea of buying equipment in advance. Star City Stark was stunned. Actually, what I want to ask is, Brother Chuan, do you have a level 20 firearms skill book here? A level 20 gun skill book. Hearing this, Zhou Zequan glanced at the players in front of him from the perspective of God. Among these players, there are already dozens of level 20 players. It goes up fast enough. Why are they all 0% experience at level 20? Could it be that E-level elite zombies can only be brushed to level 20? No wonder I cut down hundreds of zombies in vain. Zhou Zequan smacked his mouth. If he had known that there was no experience gain, he would have just used high speed to sneak. Let these players slowly clean up by themselves. Seeing Zhou Zequan was stunned, Stark added, Brother Chuan, if there are no skill books to sell, post a task to reward skill books, that's fine too. It is really uncomfortable to be promoted to level 20 without being able to learn skills. Task. Zhou Zequan squinted his eyes, and secretly said, the task of the 20th level skill book. I guess I have to fight the D-level boss. But the mission information, the player has to find it. Zhou Zequan definitely wouldn't take risks and run around in the last days. Forgot, the mission of this game is triggered by the player. Star City Stark also reacted at this time. Then I can only continue to explore this end of the world after finishing the grass wall. I really don't have the skill cheats here, but someone has them. I guess they will come back soon. Zhou Zequan thought for a while and said, could it be that there are new NPCs? Hearing this, Stark of Star City was pleasantly surprised, an NPC who sells skill books. Zhou Zequan didn't answer, but just asked Stark of Star City to wait. Zhou Zequan pondered, it is not impossible to buy skill books from the host mall and sell them to players. 500 points, 5 gold level 20 skill books. Sells to the player for 25 gold. The same as to earn. However, the cost of purchase is a bit high. With Zhou Zechuan's current remaining points, he still has to sell weapons to the quartermaster, and he has to eat and use to enhance attributes. Purchase and sell skill books. You can enter, but only a little bit, not too much. Go back and get an NPC from a mysterious merchant. While selling advanced skill books, you can also sell the equipment I have eliminated. That is also a lot of points income. Zhou Zi had a plan in mind. After sending out the quest rewards, Zhou Luoquan went to room 1501 and started making new NPCs. Resist invasion 2. After the task is over, all players in the second unit of a building start to clean the residential building. The efficiency of the core players of the last days is reflected at this moment. Only half a day, all the zombie wreckage is cleared out of the community. Clean all corridors and aisles. The second unit in the first building of the Beluo community, this building was carefully selected by Zhou Zequan before the safe house was settled here. This is the only complete residential building in this area. The rest are either unfinished buildings, or very seriously damaged dangerous buildings. There is no need for zombies to invade, and it will naturally collapse over time. After the players are cleaned up, they have an illusion of returning to reality when they are in it. The comfort level of staying in this building is completely close to reality. Most importantly, this building also has the most powerful legs in the whole server, Zhou Zequan. The sense of security is overwhelming. The jealous eyes of those players who didn't get the resurrection point of this building are red. Soon, outside players offered a high price to buy a second unit resurrection seat. The closer the resurrection position is to Zhou Zequan, the higher the price. What you said at the beginning is indeed true, the resurrection position next to the NPC is really valuable. The prodigal Zawei looked at Saikisuke with an excited expression on his face. Shi Yifu paused, and asked, did someone ask you to buy a resurrection seat? The friends I met in online games before, now come to play the real end of the world. Prodigal Zawei laughed and said, he told me that he would offer 100,000 Yan Guo coins to buy a room in my game. 100,000 Yan Guo coins, a resurrection slot can be sold, but you have to tell him that it is a friendly price. Shi Yifu nodded and said, he owes you a favor. It's not a resurrection seat, it's my room 1503. Prodigal Zawei corrected. 100,000 to buy your entire house. 5 resurrection seats. Shi Yifu frowned and said, where did you make friends? They are black enough. You have to know that the resurrection space downstairs is rented out for 500 a day. How much should I charge for buying my entire room 1503? Prodigal Zawei asked subconsciously. Let him exchange a flat in a second-tier city. So exaggerated. I had third-level first-class people on the side and I was completely shocked. Is this an exaggeration? Didn't you see how popular this game became after it became popular? Shi Yifu asked back. The number of people online is stable at just over 1,000, how hot is this? Shi Yifu shook his head and said, don't just look at the number of players in the game, but look at the degree of discussion. All game forums, big and small, are talking about this game now. There are few people online, and it is a daytime working day. There are also many players who are frightened and dare not play. But they don't dare to play now, it doesn't mean we won't play after land reclamation. You can go to various live broadcast platforms such as Shark and Mauya. More than 95% of the anchors are broadcasting real end times. Point 0. The number of viewers has broken history. I conservatively estimate that if you are timid, there are at least tens of millions of players in this game. True Doomsday, such quality, such heat. Shi Yifu slammed his mouth and said, the 5 resurrection seats next to Brother Chuan. I really don't want to exchange a real house. But my friend told me that Brother Chuan will leave here sooner or later because of the plot of the main mission. The prodigals away added, he bought my room 1503, and he had to take a big risk. Then you can rest assured that after Brother Chuan leaves, the value of this residential building will decrease, but definitely not too much. Shi Yifu waved his hand and said, the first batch of land reclamation in this game is all in this building. And all of them are the core players of the end of the world. When the players grow up, even if Brother Chuan is gone, this place will be the safest place in this apocalypse. The other 4 members of Wu Lianzuo nodded in agreement. Not counting buggy NPCs like Zhou Zequan. Surviving next to a large number of Doomsday Master players is absolutely stable enough. The neighbors up, down, left, and right are all bosses, so there is nothing to be afraid of. Let's go. Lao Shi sent me a message, saying that the materials for the grass wall have been collected enough, and we need to help carry the materials and start building the wall. Shi Yifu beckoned and motioned for several people to go downstairs together. Didn't he say he wanted a large grass wall? That's enough material, so fast, prodigals away asked in surprise. This is the efficiency of cooperation between the bosses. Shi Yifu responded. Wu Lian sat downstairs. They were all dumbfounded looking at the scene in front of them. In the open space in front of the residential building, twigs, rope, grass, materials have piled up a hill. The amount of these materials, not to mention a circle of walls, but the scale of an ancient city wall is much larger. Wu Lianzu couldn't help sighing. It is said that the core players in the last days are masters of picking up garbage and geniuses of picking trees. Now it seems that it really deserves its reputation. Next to the material mountain, Star City Stark, and Feng, Sunshine Boy, Pigeon Cheng Jing and others are discussing something. Saikisuk led the other 4 people over to say hello. And looked at the Pigeon Cheng Jing suspiciously. Why is this thing here? Aren't we hostile forces? Sensing Saikisuke's gaze, Pigeon became smart and explained. Don't look at me like, 443, we hostile PP between players is for the fun of the game. Now that the house is about to be wiped out by zombies, it is natural to stand together first, and agree to disagree with the outside world. Quote. The pigeon has grown up and raised an eyebrow at Saikisuk. When the resurrection point is stable, we will continue to fight internally. Shi Yisuk smiled, but did not speak. The pigeons have become fine and think that they have many people and have confidence. As everyone knows, they are actually the swaps, toys of the Stark after killing the zombies and killing the crooked. That's the decision. The residential building is 20 meters away, surrounded by a 10-meter high grass wall, and only one gate is left. Star City Stark looked up at the front and said, even if night goblins, night hunters, and even D-level elite monsters come, we will have enough buffer time. When they destroy the grass wall and climb over the grass wall, my 7.62 bullets can be shot. 20 meters away, surround a 10-meter high wall. Is the material enough? And Feng asked subconsciously. I just made an estimate, and the materials are definitely too much. Stark responded with a smile. Although the material is enough, how do you build it? The pigeon became fine and rubbed its chin, muttering, the 10-meter high wall, this must not let the boss bring his engineering team to get a few tower strings to complete it. Don't even think about it. The group leader returned to the engineering team the next day after the service was launched, saying that there was a big project and the game could not be played for a long time. And Feng shrugged. If the group leader is here, with his ability, there must be a better plan. Star City Stark said confidently. However, we can still build this 10-meter grass wall with manpower. Star City Stark paused, and slowly explained. Have you found out that this is not, even though it claims to be 100% realistic? But as long as it involves equipment and skills obtained from NPCs, it becomes a game completely. Well, this is indeed a game. What I want to express is that a 1x1x1 grass wall can be made by raising my hand as long as I have materials. Have you ever played with Mick? I just stack them up one by one in that way. I first build it in a trapezoidal shape, climb up and build all the upper floors, and then slowly patch it down. You just need to pass me the materials. Quote. Several people around heard the words and nodded in unison. If everything is as described by Stark in Star City, they can really complete this 10-meter high grass wall purely by manpower. It's getting dark now. Although we have caught all the night devils in this area by fishing, it is recommended not to start construction if the light is not good. Stark glanced at the time in the sky, and said, come here at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. By the way, Brother Chuan revealed that there will be a new NPC, so don't be late. New NPC, male or female? Are you pretty? My third-level head immediately asked after hearing this. The rest of the people took a third look at me. They nodded slightly, as if I had a third-level head say what they wanted to ask. How can I know that? Stark shook his head and smiled. You ISPs, don't worry about female NPCs. With the NPC protection mechanism of this game, we can't even touch men. Girl, I'm afraid I have a little idea, so I'll give you electrotherapy. That's right, it's better to focus on the young lady of the foreign race. As a hostile force, we do some things that are too much, so it shouldn't be too much. When I had the third-level head talking, I made eye contact with the rest of the people. The slightly wretched, knowing laughter immediately resounded in the community. Stark returned directly to the residential building without being with him. Now he only wants to play the game well and experience the feeling of being a Superman in 100% simulation. Well, in fact, he does not lack such resources in reality. I really have an idea. He can't find it by relying on financial resources and contacts. There's not much time left. I'm fine tonight, I'll just go offline and refresh the time limit earlier. Stark, who returned to the residential building, thought about it for a while. The next step is to sleep in the last days, so he might as well sleep in reality until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Another new 72 hours. Choose to quit True Doomsday, and Stark City Stark is ready for the tingling sensation of excessive use of the brain. Using the game cabin for a long time does not have many side effects on the body, but it still consumes brain power. But when he exits the game, the immersive mode is released. It turns out that the brain is extremely clear. It doesn't feel like using your brain for dozens of hours, on the contrary, it feels like sleeping for dozens of hours. Except for a long time of inactivity and a little lack of energy, my body is even better than before I entered the game. The optimization of this game is so exaggerated. Star City Stark was impressed by the technical aspect of real end times again. The technology possessed by this game company may have thrown away his technological game nerd for decades. It seems that it is difficult to study how this game is made. Star City Stark felt powerless in this regard for the first time. Don't talk about a whole game. Even imitating, even making a small demo for a minute or two, he will definitely not be able to do it 5.0. But it's good this way. I can be a player with peace of mind, and some shameless domestic companies don't want to copy it. Star City Stark smiled, comparing the forcibly copied things with the real apocalypse. It is estimated that the players will be sprayed like a sieve. Star City Stark walked out of the game room. Suddenly fell into the confusion of not knowing what to do. His brain is so clear that he must not be able to fall asleep. Real end of the world with such a god optimization, he estimates that 1 or 2 hours of rest in reality will be enough. Waiting for the system supervision time to reset, he can continue to fight for 72 hours. 72 hours. Yes, I will find a way to extend the time. Star City Stark dialed one of the executives of the Game Warehouse Cooperation Factory. Old Huang, Do you have time? Old she. After the call was connected, a very enthusiastic voice came from the other end. I was going to find you. I have good news for you. Our new luxury version of the game warehouse recently sold 1,100% more than expected, and it is still growing. With your share, you can get a lot. Oh. Star City Stark responded flatly, and then said, I'm looking for you for other things. Other things? Don't you wonder why our new game store is sold out? Is it because of the real apocalypse? I have seen a lot of aggressive players in the past 2 days. Ordinary games are not allowed if the conditions are met. Old Huang paused, then said with a hearty smile. I even forgot that you are a fan of this type of game. What else do you want me to mean? Star City Stark breathed a sigh of relief. I want to know how to continue to increase the game time. Do you still need to add time? 72 hours is not enough for you to play. Lao Huang raised his voice. 72 hours, barely enough. Stark wrote lightly. It would be even better if you could add some more. Real End Times is the first 100% realistic game in history. Star City Stark does not want to miss any mainline events, plots. If he can stay in the last days forever, he really won't quit the game. Prolonging the time without side effects on the body, it is very difficult to do with our technology. To be honest, if it weren't for the player protection system you developed, our luxury version of the game warehouse would have been skipped for at least a year. Lao Huang's tone revealed helplessness. In this regard, the technology of all major manufacturers has reached the bottleneck. The kind where you can't even squeeze out a drop of toothpaste. Technically, there is no way, but we can do it during the system supervision time. Star City Stark said. Don't pay attention to this. This is an illegal act. Lao Huang was a little panicked. If you modify the system supervision time of the game warehouse without permission, not only will you have an accident, but the merchant who sold you the special game warehouse will also be held accountable. Look at what you said. How dare I go to the black officials system monitoring? Stark smiled. Yanran is not difficult for me. But I dare not. The main reason is that I found True Doomsday. The optimization of this game is very good. Even if it is an ordinary game room, the side effects of players playing can be greatly reduced. I just want to know if it is possible to set a separate supervision time for this kind of God-optimized game. Lao Huang took a deep breath and said, it's up to someone from the game company to contact the official. And this is also for increasing the duration of other ordinary game bins. If you have already reached 72 hours, don't even think about it. Why? Stark was puzzled. 72 hours of immobility is almost the limit. No matter how long the time is, the muscles will atrophy. Old Huang paused, and said, unless, you can develop a player protection system in which the consciousness is in the game, but the body can actively move. Is that so? Stark nodded slightly. Then, let me try. Old Huang, I just said it casually, do you really plan to develop this function? After temporarily dispelling Stark's idea of increasing the time limit, Lao Huang continued. From the look of you, you should have been playing True Doomsday for a few days. Do you know anything about this game company? It would be best if you could get in touch with them. Star City Stark sighed. I checked, I asked all the people on the game platform, and there is no information, only the name of NPC System Studio is listed. They can put the game on the shelves like this, either there is an insider on the game platform or there is official help. I am more inclined to the latter. It is possible that the technology in the hands of the government has far surpassed that of our folks. Quote. When Star City Stark said this, he suddenly laughed. That's right. What your big Vita factory is doing is to simulate the picture quality of the game warehouse. Now a game like this suddenly comes out, isn't it uncomfortable? Who says it's not? The big boss has criticized us for a few days. Lao Huang paused for a few seconds before saying, the big boss wants us to look at the realistic picture quality made by others, and then look at what we made ourselves. We were directly beaten. Now we want to contact this company. As long as we can cooperate, we will pay any price. Do you want to see if you can steal a teacher? Stark teased. We don't have this plan. Lao Huang hastily denied. A big factory with this kind of technology will probably not be able to solve the protection made by us for the rest of our lives. We really just want to cooperate and communicate with these big cows by the way. What about now? Has anyone been contacted? Stark asked. Like you, I only know the NPC System Studio. It's not like your contacts in major international companies will get nothing. It's not just us, all major manufacturers such as Card Watch, Stupid Donkey, and Thunder are looking for them, and all of them have found no such company. We're also wondering if it's an official game that's been released for testing. That's the way it is. By the way, I have a news from the industry that domestic goose factories have arranged studios to imitate the real end times. It is estimated that within 3 months, they will release a game called Playing the End of the World Every Day. What the hell, Playing the End of the World Every Day? The name is really in the style of Goose Factory. Star City Stark couldn't hold back, and laughed out loud. Let them copy it. 100% realistic picture quality, a truly fully open world, these 2 points. As long as they can do one of them, I won't hack him online. Quote. Well, it's getting late, so I won't bother you anymore. Stark glanced at the phone and said, let me go and study the player protection system you mentioned that makes me move. If there is progress, I will discuss it with you. Quote. Lao Huang also wanted to say that he was just joking. But the phone has entered a busy tone. Lao Huang looked at the name display on the phone, and shook his head involuntarily. Why can't such a talent find a factory to work in? If we come to Vida, we can definitely kill the BMD company. At night, Stark of Star City fiddles with equipment in the underground garage, making equipment that can help players move automatically. After several hours of research, it turned out that the quality of the cup was successfully improved. Stark found that this technology is not small, and will not be able to do it for a while. He had no choice but to sleep and welcome the new 72 hours after 6 o'clock the next day. End times. Unit 2, Building 1, Beluo Community, Room 1601. At the second when the system supervision time was refreshed at 6 o'clock, Star City Stark went online on time. He opened the door and went downstairs. As soon as he stepped into the corridor, there were noisy footsteps. Upstairs, downstairs, a large number of players rushed to the first floor. A new NPC is here. Hurry up. It is said that the new NPC sells skill books. Hurry up. Skill book. You can't buy it if it's too late. Many players ran and shouted excitedly. They are completely unaware that they are changing directions to increase competitors. Star City Stark was in no hurry. While he was slowly going downstairs, he calmly sent a message to Shi Yifu. How's the situation over there? He wants to refresh the game time and cannot squat. Naturally, a person must be arranged. Shi Yisuk yawned, full of sleepiness. I stayed for half an hour on purpose, and went online at 5:30. When I came here, I found that there was a long queue of new NPCs here. You shouldn't have announced this news. I'm doing this to get these players online earlier, which is good for the wall project. Star City Stark was not worried at all, smiled and said. And what we want, they must not be able to buy. Are you so sure? Saikisuke was a little puzzled. You just have to wait to hear it. As business hours begin, the first player starts browsing the new NPC's merchandise. Soon, a mask of pain appeared on the player's face. Is there any mistake? The skill book of level 10 needs 5 gold. Why don't you grab it? The new NPC just made a please gesture to him, signaling him to leave without buying anything. Seeing this, the player turned away angrily. I can't play this broken game anymore. What, are you planning to retire? A player answered immediately. Sell me at the resurrection point. I said it casually, you think too much. The player took a deep breath and said. I'm going to run the map now, find the Night Devil's lair, and find the boss. I don't believe that I won't be able to take a group mission. Most of the players in the front row are the same as the first. Glancing at commodity prices, then turning around at. However, they knew there was still work to be done to build the wall, and they didn't go far. And not every player will choose to take risks and run around in this last world. Star City Stark arrived at the first floor unhurriedly. The players queuing up have already been discouraged by the price. This is the new NPC. The mysterious businessman. Star City Stark glanced at the mysterious businessman in the corridor. A big windbreaker, a hat, a mask on his head, and a big backpack on his back. J. It is indeed quite mysterious. Is there a skill book for level 20? Stark walked up to Saikisuke and asked. There are 4, level 20 skill books for guns, knives, scepters, and shields. When Saikisuke said this, he couldn't help muttering. It's as if it was specially prepared for us. What about the price? It's a bit expensive, 25 gold a copy. Then besides us, no one else can afford it. Star City Stark shrugged. This game company still understands it well. Although the official Krypton Gold function has not been opened, the product is still moving towards the demand of Krypton Gold players. How much gold do we have now? Stark asked. After knowing the news of the new NPC, I collected the gold overnight, and now I have 136 gold. Shiifu replied. It's also thanks to you that you made this game a hot search, and the number of players has increased several times. Otherwise, based on the number of players before, it's hard to say whether there is 100 gold in the entire gold coin market. Quote. Then we can charge more when there are many new players. Shiifu shook his head. It can no longer be collected, because of the new NPC, the price of gold has risen again. Now it even exceeds the previous highest price. Hearing Saikisuke talking about this, Pigeon Chungjing not far away cast a resentful look. Is this what you said, that the price of gold is about to plummet? What a blood loss for 20 gold. The other 4 people sitting in Wulian, as well as Enfeng and Sunshine Boy, also came over and took a look at the mysterious merchant's shop. Also a bit intimidated by the price. Fortunately, there is no level 20 skill book for the sword, otherwise it will be uncomfortable if you can't afford it. Enfeng smacked his mouth and sighed. The Sunny Boy nodded in agreement. Let's wait for the task book skills. Star City Stark signaled Shiisuke to let him directly buy all 420 level skill books. Firearms for their own use. The knife is for the prodigals away. The nature of the scepter belongs to Saikisuke. There's also a shield one, choose between. I have a level 3 head and smash your skull. On balance, in the end, it gave you more experience to play meat, after all, it smashed your skull. Other players watching this scene couldn't help but want to work for Star City Stark. It doesn't matter if it's money or not. The main reason is that there is no need to worry about game resources. Weapons, defense equipment, skill books. Wulian has been leading the server with the help of Star City Stark. The relationship between Enfeng and Sunshine Boys is relatively good, and if necessary, Star City Stark will lend them gold. Even if the official Krypton Gold channel is not opened. Krypton Gold boss, that's still a boss. Some players wondered, if Stark of Star City helps Wulian sit like this, isn't it afraid that they will turn back after they get good things? At the beginning, Stark City Stark came to bring Wulianzuo to repay Shiisuke's favor. In fact, the resources given to them in the game have already been laid out. Just this degree. There is a big gap between them and before they change their identities to do things for themselves. Secondly, it is a trust. Star City Stark may not fully trust the other 4 people in Prodigals Away, but Shiifu can still trust him. In the previous online game cooperation with Shiifu, he paid the money first and then took the goods, and he didn't take the platform guarantee. This is true for hundreds of thousands, or even millions of Yangu coin transactions. Okay, if you switch to another merchant player, there is a high chance that you will get away with money. But Saikisuke didn't take a dime in a daze. Saikisuke has accumulated quite a deep trust here. Of course, the most important thing is that Stark dares to do this if he has the conditions. If you go against the water, you will go against the water. He doesn't care at all. Next time, keep your eyes brighter. Then spend money and issue a wanted warrant, so that they can never get along in the game. After Star City Stark got the skill book, he clicked directly to learn. My level 20 firearm skill is silver bullet making. The material requirements only need silver powder and ordinary bullets to make a silver bullet, and the radius of the silver bullet is the same as the original bullet. Silver bullet effect. Causes 100% real damage to evil creatures such as plague ghosts, undead, and demons. Plague ghosts, undead, demons. Is this end of the world game a bit off track? This also proves that your previous prediction was correct. Shiisuke echoed from the side. The abilities that players will have in the future can never be used just to deal with these vulnerable zombies. Star City Stark pondered. Then follow the normal game progress. We also have to open up the entire Scylla City and open a new map. It is possible to encounter these plague ghosts and undead. My level 20 skills should not be used for a while. Quote. That's not necessarily true. And Feng recalled. Didn't you hear that before the jockey died? He said that the plague ghost came from the land of eternal winter and invaded the entire continent. Even if we don't get through Scylla City, the plague ghosts will find us sooner or later. Is there such a thing? Star City Stark was obviously taken aback. Oh, I forgot that you had already blown up at that time, and didn't hear the jockey talking. And Feng reacted. Star City Stark. And Feng, you've forgotten it too. The sunny boy on the side waved his hand and corrected. There is a plague ghost coming from the land of eternal winter, and Brother Chuan is playing tricks there. I don't know what the real plague ghost is like. However, what is certain is, this plague ghost is indeed going to invade the entire continent. Even those G-virus mutants are worried about this happening. Quote. Star City Stark took a deep breath and said. In this way, we not only want to get through the entire Scylla City. It is even more necessary to protect the entire Scylla City well. In the future when we fight against the plague ghosts, we will have the advantage of defending the city. Quote. To build a city's protection, that will have to wait for the number of players to come up. Shi Yifu then said. Now, let's stabilize this residential building first. In case the next wave of zombies wipes out our resurrection points, we don't have to worry about the invasion of epidemic thoughts. Star City Stark nodded. Go and finish the grass wall now. Wait a minute. What are the effects of some other level 20 skills? Tell us. And Feng interrupted. We can't afford it, so let us have a dry addiction. Yeah, I have a knife at level 20, and I really want to know what the next skill is. My shield is almost level 20. The scepter is fine, no one plays with that thing. Many players waiting on the side also echoed. Then let's share the information. In the hands of the mysterious businessman, I'm not allowed to see the effect of the skills. I'm also curious. Stark signaled. Prodigal Zoe pulled out his knife, ready to explain while demonstrating the effect of the skill. Just getting ready to slash. A roar rang in his ear. Put the knife down for me. The quartermaster came over, took out a stick and compared it to the prodigal's away. If the prodigal's away dared to continue to move, here General will give him an anesthesia operation immediately. I let it go. The prodigal's away hastily withdrew his knife. With the appearance of the quartermaster Yide, this roar really scared the prodigal's away into a fool. If you want to demonstrate your skills, let's go outside. We shouldn't be able to destroy residential buildings. Star City Stark signaled everyone to get out. Anyway, it's time to build the wall. Star City Stark guessed right. All INPCs have been set up by Zhou Zequan to protect residential buildings. Even players are no exception. With the lessons learned from Stark in Star City, Zhou doesn't want players to continue demolishing his residence. Pay attention. Arriving outside the residential building, the prodigal's away pulled out his sword and slashed at the open space. Wah, saw, he. It was the habitual dubbing of prodigal's away again. But this time, there was really a gust of wind that burst out from the blade. All the players watching the skill demonstration were shocked. How about it, hold it or not? Seeing the reactions of other players, Prodigal's Away laughed in satisfaction and said. The name of this skill is Sword Chi vertical and horizontal, and the effect is to burst out a burst of sword energy when you slash. You don't really borrow all the skills of this Taidao from Brother Suozi, do you? Saikisuke said sincerely. Promise us. If CDCF the level 30 knife skill is step forward chop, don't learn it. Really don't learn. Balls. Stepping forward chop is the soul. If there is one, I must learn it. The Prodigal's Away insisted on himself on this point. Saikisuke stayed where he was like a lightning strike, with a look of despair on his face. The interaction between the two caused the players around them to laugh. Only Stark's attention is still on skills. How about the attributes of Sword Chi? Damage, mana consumption, CD and the like. Quote. Prodigal's Away replied. There is no mana consumption, only stamina consumption. The CD is 15s, and the CD will be reduced after the strength and agility are high. As for the damage, only 5% of physical attack power. Prodigal's Away's voice became smaller and smaller, until it hurt. It was almost as big as a mosquito. How much damage? How much? Star City Stark squinted his eyes, a little unsure of the value he heard. The damage is 5% of the physical attack power. Prodigals Away replied again. Star City Stark, cough. It's getting colder and colder in the last days, and freezing those zombies to death with knife wind can be regarded as a means of attack. Shiyisuk took the conversation. It also saved the prodigals away from the embarrassment of being silent. That shield's level 20 skill. Stark looks to shatter your skull. Shattering your skull doesn't demonstrate the skill, but directly describes it. The skill is named Menial's Will and it is a passive skill. Activates when health drops below 10%. Skill effect, restore 5% of HP per second, lasts for 10 seconds. CD, 24 hours. If the character is not dead, Menial's Will cannot be triggered again within 24 hours. Quote. Passive. Backlight. Star City Stark bowed his head and analyzed. After the life value drops to 10%, it recovers 5% every second, which looks pretty good. I'm just worried that the blood won't come back. With this blood volume, it is easy to die suddenly. Quote. Well, after reading all the skills, you can go to build the wall. Star City Stark waved to everyone. Psychisuk. I'm still here. Don't treat the player of wands as a human being. There are more than 1,000 players in the whole server, and there are only a handful of scepter players. It makes sense that other players are not interested in the wand's abilities. Let's go. They don't want to know, you can just hide your skills. Star City Stark sent a private chat. However, there are too few scepter players now. In the future battle of plague ghosts, we may suffer a big loss. Shiyifu replied. Stark paused when he heard that. Then he looked at Psychisuk and nodded. After being signaled, Shiyifu raised his scepter upwards. 2 seconds later, a ball of flame spewed out from the top of the scepter. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe my channel.